Before we start, the name is at the top right of the screen. Erica has a dream where she has her own farm and the shimmering golden rice. This is the life of a successful farmer. She startles, her eyes flutter open, and in a moment of lucidity, she comprehends that it was just a dream. As she returned to reality, it became clearer. For the first time in a while, she had a happy dream. Erica introduces herself as Erica Dryad and reveals she has memories of her past life and predicts she will become a villainess in the future. In her previous life, she was obsessed with farming thanks to her parents who were farmers. She learned farming from a young age. She dreamed of becoming a farmer and even left school for it. After focusing on farming seriously in just 5 years, she turned their farm into a global rice brand. She gained the respect and envy of many people back then. Her life was perfect and at its peak as a farmer. But now that she thinks about it, sometimes she feels as if that did not happen at all. But unfortunately, she got into an accident and died as a result. When she woke up, she found herself living an ordinary life as a young lady, but the vivid recollection of everything she had experienced left her utterly shocked. It was pure madness. Suddenly, it occurred to her, and she felt literal panic because the world she's living in now was a novel she read in her past life before she died. This means she has been reincarnated as one of the characters in that novel. She reveals the plot of the novel is very simple, and the novel's heroine Pandora, who possesses divine powers, appears, and obsessed men fall in love with her out of nowhere. It's a simple romance novel revolving around reverse harem. In the original novel, the villainess who annoys Pandora appears, and that's Erica Dryad. Erica grew up in a very high status, to the point where she was called Dryad's treasure, but she gained a bad personality and poor work skills. She annoyed many people, including Pandora, and because Erica's actions worsened over the years. In the end, even the Duke's family abandoned her. Erica lost everyone on her side, and in the end she was executed in the middle of the novel. Our female protagonist is petrified and wonders why she has been reincarnated again as a dying villainess. Upon opening her eyes, she was met with her parents' concerned gazes fixed upon her. Her mother inquired about what had happened, her voice laced with worry. She also disclosed that in the original novel, Erica's parents tried to protect her until the end, and to this day they had raised her with love. She looked at her parents and admitted to them she had caused them so much trouble, right? She also expressed her gratitude for taking care of her and raising her so well and promised to do well in the future. Her altered demeanor heightened her mother's concern, prompting her to inquire about where she felt pain and why she was talking like that. Back in the present, she reveals all of this happened just a few days ago, and how can she continue to avoid death after that? After much contemplation, the only conclusion that came to her mind was that this moment occurred before Erica committed any wicked deeds, and she decided to change her future through good deeds from now on. She discloses right now Pandora hasn't met the male leads, and as long as she does not bother the main characters in the original novel, she won't be executed. And the most important thing in doing that is to not get involved in any way with the male leads of the novel. She thinks to herself they are all truly insane, and she doesn't even know where they are so popular. As she gazes through the window at the garden, she realizes there's another dream she yearns to achieve. It's to succeed in farming as in her previous life and become a legendary farmer. She plans that in this life she should live happily until she grows old and dies peacefully. Her face starts sweating. Her face is contorted in worry as she realizes that she has to go see him first, and their relationship is already bad. The man she is despising to meet is the secondary main lead of the novel. Her carriage stops in front of the magical tower she intended to arrive at. She steps out of it and looks at the Imperial Research Institute, the magical tower. She thinks it's not a place just anyone can come to easily, but she has a permit to enter as long as she belongs to the Duchy of Dryad. Realizing she came to the magical tower without notifying him and wonders if he will really meet her. As she places her tea on the table, her name being called causes her muscles to stiffen, and she forces a smile despite the tension evident on her face, realizing that he is here. Roll doesn't bother with any greetings and straightforwardly asks her what is she doing here. She observes him carefully, noticing his expression is devoid of any emotions and his cold eyes make her conclude this man really hates her despite being her older and only brother. She is quick to remind he's also the secondary male lead in the novel. The Duke and the Duchess of Dryat after getting married. They did not have children for a long time, so they adopted Roll to fill that void. However, as soon as Roll was adopted, they gave birth to Erica, and then Roll's standing in the Duke's family diminished. Erica deliberately picked up on him and often did things to annoy him. After all, he wasn't really a Dryad. But Erica, despite being loved by her parents, managed to create a distance between the Duke, the Duchess, and Roll, who eventually moved to the magical tower. As a result, Roll wanted to burn Erica to death. He held a strong hatred for her. She recalls a phrase that was written in the original novel that as Roll looked at Erica as she was executed, and for the first time he genuinely smiled. He got rid of Erica, who took away his only wish, his family. So that's the reason he cannot help but hate her to this extent. Roll questions what brought her here. She thinks, considering the original work, it's natural for him to talk to her this way. She nervously glances at him and tires to form a reply, but is terrified because of facing him in person. She just wants him to give her some time to get ready for eye contact. Out of nowhere, she places her hands on her hips, furrowing her brows as she questions, what does he mean? She came to see his brother, reminding him they are family. She convinces herself not to be afraid because he's still a child after all, also aware that she definitely needs this man by her side if she wishes to stay alive. He smirks at her words that they are family. His eyes blaze with fury as he sarcastically comments, how surprising is this? She flinches involuntarily, startled by the harshness of his tone. She clenches her fist, contemplating what to do now because the atmosphere is worse than she thought. Realizing if things continue like this, he might kill her before even her execution. Determined not to succumb to her fate, she admits there's something she must say to her brother. She falls to her knees admitting she was wrong and acknowledging her mistakes. She wonders if this will appease his pride. She confesses she is sorry and apologizes sincerely, asking for another chance, because she knows her life is more important now. She adds he may not be able to forgive everything, but she will try her best and there can be a change in the future. He remains quiet, but after a moment orders her to stand up, reminding her he's not her real brother anyway. She appears hesitant, but with a flick of his wrist and the power of his magic, he effortlessly suspends her in midair. Surprised by the unexpected occurrence, she can't help but ponder if it's truly magic. He lets her know. Whatever she says, whatever her opinion is, he doesn't want to hear any more from her. With his tone cutting like ice and his eyes ablaze with fury, he delivers a stern warning to her that nothing will change now, no matter how hard she tries. After that, she visited Roll several times, but they never met. As she lays on her bed, she understands it's normal for him to hate her after she spent years of openly pestering him. But she has no other choice but to keep apologizing until Roll calms down on her part. According to the original work, Roll really wants to kill Erica, and that's after Erica began to seriously harass the heroine Pandora of the novel. She tells herself there will be no serious problems if she behaves well from now on, but other than apologizing to Roll, what should she do now? She wonders. Suddenly, the thought of farming fills her mind, prompting her to abruptly rise from her bed with the realization the only thing in front of her is farming. Compared to her previous life, where she started from scratch, now it's no different from starting over. She thinks in this world she's truly Lady Dryat, and she was born with a golden spoon in her mouth. Determination floods her being as she comes to the realization that this will be the beginning of the perfect farming life. She looks out through the window, noticing there's flat land everywhere. It's a wonderful environment to grow something. She mumbles under her breath, what a waste of time that beauty has been left without enjoyment. Looking at the vast land, she cannot help but think about her past life, where she worked hard in rice and cultivation, and looking at the well-growing rice plants, it can only be a very profitable trade. She thinks she will have a good harvest this year too, But it's disappointing that all that effort went to waste. But she is determined to start anew here, convinced as long as she doesn't give up, nature will surely wait for her. She descends the stairs, with new hope to try again and try to succeed in rice cultivation. On her way, her eyes alight upon the sword resting in the living room, its presence stirring a sense of familiarity within her. In the field, Felix, the gardener of the Dryad house, asks her what is she doing here. She appears perplexed, uncertain of how to formulate a response. Suddenly, she smiles and says, doesn't he see she's tilling the field? Confusion apparent on his face as he questions why she is even tilling the field. She is unable to find a convincing answer for that because she is embarrassed by his sudden interrogation. She smiles when she finds a lie to give. She tells him it's a hobby that is popular these days. She also lets him know she will write a list so he can bring her some seeds and seedlings. He questions isn't it too hard for her as he has heard she has been ill recently. He is afraid doing something this strenuous will only hurt her body. Noticing his hesitancy, she assures him it's okay. She's in good health. Unconvinced by her assurance, he states it's a serious problem, reminding her that even with good health, she is already sick. Adding rumors of her illness have spread throughout the duchy. She shrugs it off, saying Mom and Dad are overly concerned. Honestly, is there even a weak member in Dryad? He reluctantly says, but she is considered an exception. He comments, doesn't she look like a rare ducal flower? Convinced that, after all, field work is too much for a weak young lady. She thinks he's really nice. Maybe she can ask him if he wants to join her in farming. Noticing he has a build that seems ideal for rice cultivation, she smiles shyly at him, inquiring if he is saying this because he's worried about her. Alright, she will work just a little and then leave. Noticing the change in her demeanor, he expresses his inner turmoil that she has changed a little recently. Not knowing what to say, she just thanks him and also expresses her gratitude for keeping the garden always beautiful. He blushes because of her compliment and says it's definitely something he needs to do sincerely. She knows taking care of the plants is not easy either. She instructs him to lower his head. He obeys quickly. She takes off her hat and places it on his head, instructing him to use this during his work from now on. He panics, saying how can he take it? He assures him it's all right to take it. Instead, he can help her with the farming whenever he's able to. She is pleased because getting a farming partner operation was successful. She lifts the sword in the air that was in the living room earlier. His probing gaze is fixed upon it, and shock overtakes him as he ponders. No, this cannot possibly be what he suspects, can it? With uncertainty, he questions what is this she is holding. She replies Dryad family heirloom. He corrects her. It's the holy sword Garcian. Garcian is the holy sword that appears in the novel. This holy sword has its own will. This means it can choose its master. According to the story, when the holy sword is used with a noble heart, it is said to grant its power to the owner. Erica has also seen this text in the original work. She says this is impossible. She brought it because it just looked like a useful decoration in the closet. She questions who leaves a valuable family heirloom like this without protection. Felix tells the Duke it's a family heirloom, so he put it in the closet. She realizes the Dryad family is known for their simple thinking, so it's impossible for them to think that the heirloom should be hidden away. Felix suggests she return it, but she is insistent on keeping it because it is really good at tilling the field. She looks at the sword she had mistaken for an axe and thinks impossible. Could this extremely rare item be the holy sword she used instead of an axe? Felix warns her about the Duke. She agrees he is right and promises him that she will only use it today and return it afterward. Also telling him it sharpens better than the axe. He decides to turn a blind eye for now and goes to work now as if he doesn't know anything. After she is left alone, she decides that she will use it secretly sometimes. She did not know at that time that this holy sword would make her life very strange. Felix brings the seedlings and seeds she requested and gives her to them. She thanks him, but he does not have a problem. Instead, he is glad to see she's interested in it too. Upon opening the bag, she is disappointed to find no rice seedlings inside, and she questions him, Why didn't he bring the rice seedlings? He tells her even if she had not mentioned it now, he would have asked her what exactly are the rice seedlings she has requested. She is surprised and questions, is he sure he doesn't know what rice is? He apologizes and explains he is not an agriculture expert. However, he asked other people just in case. But no one knows what those rice seedlings are either. She wonders how no one knows what rice is. She tells him all right, she will make do with these seedlings for now. She wonders if it is possible that rice has not been discovered yet. She also requests him to keep this a secret from her parents. She tells him because they will worry for no reason, as she ponders that they fired all the teachers when she said she wants to take a break for a while, so she cannot tell them she intends to work in agriculture. He tells her, of course, just trust him, as she ponders. Why does she get so anxious as soon as she says trust me? She ponders inside and how that her parents have gone to the imperial family. This is her chance. She is having food as she calls out to Keel, mentioning that she has a question. She tells him that he is a chef, so does he know what rice is? Keel is chief of the Duchy of Dryat. He asks her if she said rice. She tells him not rice but rice, questioning if he does not know what it is. He thinks about it as she wonders does he really not know about it. Thinking that, by the way, she has never had rice here before. He tells her that he suddenly remembers now as she becomes excited, questioning if that's really the case. He states that he saw it in this book as she wonders what kind of book is this. He tells her although the ancients used to cultivate it, it is an ancient crop that even eventually went extinct. But it is great that she's already interested in history. She finds it impossible as she wonders it looks like rice cultivation from the ancient Stone Age. She calls out to him, questioning if he means to say that rice is an extant crop and no longer exists. He informs her, and since he has never seen it before, it might just be allegiant questioning. But aren't they glad that wheat has not gone extinct either? She ponders started. Looks like he thinks it is a good thing. And she wonders, what does she do now about her dream of becoming a successful rice farmer? Since she remembered her past life, she knows this has been her only hope. She asks the chef if he has any other information about rice. He reads the book as he mentions there is another text in this book. It is stated that the demonic monsters love rice as well, so all the rice was transported to Mount Kaji and thrown away. But he mentions it seems like just a myth anyway, and asks her why would demonic, monstrous even take rice. She thinks about it as she wonders. So it's not like there is no rice at all, right? She thinks that maybe it is because of the temperature, humidity and soil, which are the perfect environment for rice to grow well. She is aware that there must be a way and realize this, that she cannot give up on her dream of success through rice cultivation. After a while, she seems to be very excited as she mentions that finally the nursery is complete. She knows that now, after it sprouts here and the flowers bloom, they will have fruit. She looks at it before a maid approaches her, telling her that the Duke and the Duchess have arrived. She questions, oh really? Mentioning that she should have gone out to meet them earlier. She runs to them as she calls out to them. She wonders, since she remembered her past life for some reason. Life with her parents was a little embarrassing, but she has adapted to them perfectly now. They ask her if anything happened while they were away as she tells them no, except for her visit to the magic tower to see her brother Roll. She ponders that she should just not talk about farming now. Her Duchess calls out to her, questioning did not she say before that Roll hates her. Erica questions herself from the past, questioning why did she do that. She mentions that there is nothing wrong with her brother, she is the one at fault. Her Duchess asks her what does she mean, and after that she decided to tell her parents everything about Roll, because she knows better than anyone else the impact of the family's absence that Roll felt and the love he should have received until now. So she wanted to bring him back to the duchy, but she hopes it is not too late already, because she knows better than anyone else the impact of the family's absence, that Roll and the love he should have received under now. She has informed the Duke and the Duchess about everything and explained what happened, leading to Roll being sent to the Magician Tower, and that she fabricated all those accusations out of jealousy. And the truth is that Roll wanted to get along with her from the beginning. Her parents were very embarrassed, but they understood the situation. The Duchess told her that she has told her that based on what she just said, she thinks that she has thought about it enough. However, this might also be their fault for not taking care of Ryul properly. Also stating that she believes they should have a meal together as a family at least. She is having food as she ponders. The atmosphere is really stifling and hopes that someone will speak. His Duke asked if the food was suiting her taste. He says that to roll, Erica is staring at him as she ponders that, as expected, he has acting skills as a member of Dyert. She is aware that her parents said that evening they will invite Roll to have dinner with them. And so he attended dinner with them for the first time in a long time, and she heard that Erica, that everything was a misunderstanding. They were really negligent. She called out to her father, mentioning that it is her fault alone. Her father told her to be calm and do not say stuff. She is aware that it is her fault alone. She mentions that she apologizes. About everything, Rule was born in one of the poor neighborhoods in one of the streets. And when the Duke and Duchess found him, this must have been the first warmth Royal felt, so when he moved to the magical tower as if he was expelled, he may not have been able to have them right away. She's aware that it happened because she was not good enough. Thinking that if he's okay with it, does he want to go back home? She is aware that the magical tower is the place she wanted to go to from the beginning. Stating that she has no intention of going back because there's something she wants to continue searching for. Stating that she has always wanted to enter the magical tower. As well questioning when will she undergo the gate test to become a wizard. She states that if she is going to freely use the highest level of magic, then she will be able to enter the subspace and undergo the wizard gate test. She thinks so. Maybe this will be the great weather in the future. If he now anything return to the Dutch change, the story will collapse. Because in order to become a wizard, he has to go through complicated procedures, like going to the subspace for several years and studying everything about new magic, and he also has to take a test in another subspace using the magic he studied. And because of that, Roll appears a little late in the original story. And this is because he took time to become a wizard, and even after going through this difficult process, Roll wanted Will become a great wizard. Because he wanted to enhance Dryet's reputation. He thought this was how he would repay his debt to Dryet. He told Erica that is really what she wants. Then she can do as she pleases. Also telling her that he does not know what her opinion would be if he told this after he did something bad to her. He asked her how about having a meal like this with her family sometimes, telling her that she's a Dryet as well and hopes that she does not forget that. She blushes slightly, mentioning that she understands and thinks that he liked the family atmosphere. He asks her, so is her magical training going well these days? She tells him that it is working hard, but it is still not enough. She wonders, not enough as she's aware. Even the Crown Prince, Roxaline, we will hold the most powerful position as the Sword Master. It is said that Roll was the only one to defeat him. She smiles, mentioning, it is really humbling to say that. She asks her parent to listen to, stating that her brother can already use advanced imaging. Her Duchess and the Duke are shocked as her Duchess questions if that is true. Who is? The Duke mentions that when it comes to advanced magic, is not that something even experienced sorcerers sometimes fail at. Questioning with advanced magic as she has, she tells him that she's still not mature, and she only excels in a few things. He calls out to her. Questioning is not even excelling in 2 things great. As expected, he states that her magical talent is amazing. She finds it embarrassing as she is aware that it was great until now. The flattery operation was successful. She is aware that in the end, Roll is still a child. She nervously wonders that she's surprised she almost died just from making eye contact with him. Realizing that she thinks she succeeded in calming his feelings towards her and hopes things will go well after a long time. But she has to be careful not to cause him trouble again. The Duchess asks Royal to be cautious on his way back, stating that she is worried because the road to the Magic Tower is adjacent to Mount Kaji. His Duke also states that there have been reports of an increase in demon monster attacks recently. Erica questions if the number of demon monsters increased. He puts her on the head, stating that is why their mother and he recently visited the imperial palace, as it is true. The Duchess states Mount Kaji is a serious problem as His Majesty was extremely concerned about the sudden increase in demand monster attacks which negatively affected his health. In times like this, the Imperial Sword Dryad must be stronger. Duke tells Roll that even if he frequently travels this road, he should be careful. He responds that he will keep that in mind as, she wonders, is not the situation serious enough for the strongest person in the current generation to go to the mountain. In this world, there is a risk called demon monsters, and they are a strange species characterized by extraordinary strength and agility. The biggest problem is that the magical monster population is humans. Humans have been constantly threatened by these demon monsters, which is why the imperial family turned to the Dryad family known as the Imperious Sword, who managed to contain the monsters within the border area, and also they were ordered to constantly conquer them, even though monsters' demand were unused, and there were times where they were helpful, as the Raid Empire where she live in is located on the border of Mount Kaji where demand monstrous live and the Khan Empire's model as well. That is why the Khorne Empire could not invent the Raid Empire. Yes, it is all because of the demon monsters living on Mount Kaji. She is aware that if the number of demons on Mount Kaji is increasing, then the demon monster called Dragon who lives on Mount Ecology is a rumor that this extraordinary space is the one gathering grains and even ancient extinct groups. She thinks about it as she is excited. Roll says goodbye to them, telling them that he is leaving now. She ponders that demand Dragon must have. She decides to check it out immediately before Roll glances at her as he gets on the carriage. She looks towards her left and right and decides to jump as she thinks that no problem so far. She jumps out of her balcony as she hits her head. She is aware that no matter how hard she tries, her body cannot get used to this at all. After deciding to climb Mount Karachi, the first thing she did was check her physical condition. Her estranged, her jumping ability, her resilience. She expected that, but as expected, the direct line, which is quite different. Most Dryad members have physical abilities similar to monsters, and unfortunately Erica was born from the direct line edge. Her ankles hurt a little, but she's aware that she will endure it, run, knowing that she cannot give up rice cultivation that easily. And since she carried the holy sword with her she should not waste more time as she leaves. After a while she is aware that it is much more wider than she thought, and it is behind the Dryad Duchy. She finds it. Lucky hat, she discovered dragons hydrated by interrogating the butler. She wonders what they'd be good to set up an ambush here. She did not climb Mount Karachi without any preparation. Her body in her previous life was flexible thanks to her innate agility skills, and there was not any sports that she had not tried. She had not tried including kendo, taekwondo, martial arts, judo, and even boxing. And there, she also learned all the farming techniques. She's a little worried because she cannot get used to this body carrying monsters' strength. She notices something as she is surprised, wondering if it's Draken. It is a rabbit as it runs away. She notices the high road place as she goes behind him. She goes inside a hole to find carrots and other stuff. She finds it impossible, realizing that there are no rice grains. She questions, can it be that there are already plenty of seeds and not a single grain of rice? She looks to the side to find the rabbit angry as she wonders why is it angry. Suddenly, she hears a bang. As she covers her ears, she suddenly wonders, why is the rabbit getting big? She notices something as she realizes that could be rice grains. She is aware that this does not seem like it is going to be easy, but still, despite that, she decides to attack back, realizing that she will definitely get those right seats as she takes out her sword. She launches for an attack. She launches an attack. She struggles to breathe as expected. It is not going to be easy. She ponders that it is not showing any signs of giving in. She feels a huge amount of pain in her ankle and falls down. Realizing that she cannot move because of the pain in her ankle, she thinks that she hurt it when she jumped down and landed badly. She suddenly gasps as she realizes that the rabbit is attacking her, understanding that she cannot avoid this blow. Right then Roll appears and covers her. He uses his magic to shield her. and causes an explosion. Erica is shocked as she wonders how did he do that. She calls out to him as he flinches. He turns around to her, stating that he just came here by chance. He asks her what was she thinking. The rabbit stands behind him and tries to attack him. He turns around before that and jumps over with Erica. They both fall towards the other end. As Erica stands up and gasps, she notices that Roll is unconscious. She notices that, though feeble, he is still breathing, thinking if he passed out. The rabbit comes over them as she holds a knife, realizing that she was too careful. She wishes for this to work out, wishing for her to have the power to protect Roll as she decides to attack the rabbit. A light begins to appear from her sword, causing the rabbit to look away. She stands there in shock. Someone calls out to her, questioning. How dare she? She seems pretty confused. The voice is coming from the sword as it questions how dare she made it a hoe. She notices that the sword has been transformed to a hoe. It calls out to her, stating that it is not a hoe but Garshian, the holy sword. She reminds it again that it's a hoe. It gets angry and asks her to not ignore what it said. She looks at it and ponders that it does not look like just any ordinary hoe. She mentions that it fits perfectly in her hand and wonders if this is the supreme hoe she has only heard about. She is amazed by the fact that it also talks. It argues that it is not a hoe but a holy sword. She mentions that she never imagined she would hold such a hoe in her hand. It states that if she thinks she can make it feel better with such words of praise, she is absolutely mistaken, stating that its pride has already been severely wounded. Right then, she realizes that the rabbit is still there. In that moment, she remembered what her mom taught her. Flashback. Her mom tells her to listen carefully to what she is about to say, stating that she should never observe it but feel it. She should close her eyes and imagine it in her mind. What is before her right now are weeds. Weeds that she needs removed, and think of their deep roots. She thinks of the first chapter of the farmer's martial techniques as she claps her hand and aims the sword at the rabbit. She attacks the rabbit with full potential. She gets back down as she thinks if her technique worked. She looks around to find the rabbit unconscious. Realizing that she was able to do it, Erica exclaims she did it. However, to her shock, she coughs blood. She admits that surprised her and wonders if she has internal injury. She darts a glance at the sword in her hand. She can't help but think the holy sword lent her its power. She is then reminded of what happened to the right seat. She crawls and reaches the box of rice. She beams, realizing it is real rice. She thinks she was right. She never thought she would find rice, but she did. However, this seems like sealing magic. She wonders how she can break it. That aside, she also wonders why was this magic beast carrying the rice sealed in a box. Her brain is not working properly right now. She feels so dizzy that she thinks she will pass out. At that moment, someone screams her name. It's Roll, racing towards her with a look of concern. She is relieved to know he is safe. She tries rising on her trembling legs because she wants to walk toward him too. However, she has no strength left in her. She finally stands up but falls right into his arms. Because there is no strength in her, she tells him she is glad he wasn't hurt badly. Confused, he looks at her. She is especially glad that his face is intact. She thinks it would have been terrible if he had wounded that handsome face. She also takes pride in the fact that she protected him. Later, someone keeps calling Erica's name. She flinches in her sleep and feels annoyed because it is very noisy. The shout intensifies, jolting her awake in bed with wide eyes. She whines to stop calling her name. She's not dead. Her parents' eyes fill with tears of relief, and they beam at her. The chef and gardener sob too, including the maid and the butler. They are all gathered together and were waiting for her to wake up. She looks at all of them with widened eyes, wondering what to do. Her father rushes to her side, placing his hand on her forehead. He asks how does she feel now. She replies she is fine and asks them what they're all doing in her room. He admits they are all here because they have been so worried about her. The gardener also adds they were afraid that she wouldn't wake up. She thinks right, she is Erica Driette. the only precious daughter of the House Durt. She also thinks about how she has been surrounded all her life by her indulgent parents and the servers who have doted on her so much. She muses it is no surprise that Erica grew up to be spoiled villainous. All the workers are so worried for her health that one of them wants to go 3,000 feet down into the deep sea and find the elixir plant right away for her. The other wants permission to go find a centaurs to use as her ladyship's medicine. Erica thinks making a fuss like this every time is really hard to bear. She declares in a firm voice that is enough, she's all right, so they should stop it. Their mother sends them all away saying her daughter, and she has something to talk about alone. The father looks at Julieta with pleading eyes, reminding her he is her father. So can he stay too? But the poor Hasten has been kicked out of the room. Julieta sighs in relief and mummers it's finally quiet. Her mother then smiles, but it doesn't reach her eyes. She instructs Erica to tell her everything. Erica can see she's emitting a tremendously menacing aura. She remembers she swept the entire Imperial Palace in rage when she was younger, so this is no joke. She asks her mother about what? Her mother demands why she was alone without an escort in the Eggplant Mountains at that hour. And how did she get there? She sweats nervously, struggling to come up with an answer but failing. She also thinks her smile makes her even more terrifying. She states how she could just sit around when she heard that magic bees had increased in number. Her mother asks her what does that have to do with her. She states because she is a Dryet too. She tells her she wanted to fight against the magic beasts like her and father. However, she thinks to herself this sounds pretty plausible even to her. But her mother says she gets that and promises to let it pass just this once. Erica knows this was close, so she raises her hand in the air and lets out a yay. That earns her a smack in her head. Because her mother says that is all she has to say. To think that her heart almost dropped because of her. She chastens her that her reckless behavior got both her and Roll injured. She gasps in surprise and asks her mother, "He's hurt?" She demands to know where he is right now. Roll's parents are proud of him as he saved his sister from a magic beast. They also praise him for his ability to notice danger she would get into beforehand. Roll tells his parents he hopes they did not worry them too much. His father states they both got back in one piece, so it is all right. His father then laughs it off, saying they should have expected this could have happened as they are both better than them. Julieta further adds she never thought the word of caution she gave them would encourage her to do such a thing. She does seem to think of how shocked they were at the news of their injuries. Hasten acknowledges he went through a lot of trouble for his sister. However, Roll feels guilty and thinks if he had been more skilled, but Julieta cuts him off, telling him to raise his head. Once he does, she cups her face with both of her hands and lets him know he really did a great job, so he should not think like that. She reminds him, to them, Dryets, these things are not rare. The father also reminds him they are the ones who always face dangers head-on, so he's certainly one of them. Julieta informs Erica he is resting at the magic tower. She assures him he only got a few light scratches, so she doesn't need to worry too much. She jumps off the bed declaring she's going to go check on him herself right now. She is halfway up the balcony railing when Julieta stops her. Her mother states as much as the Dryets have more excellent physical abilities than others. So many people in this family died early, she asks her does she know why. Confused, she asks her mother why is that. Her mother replies it is because of their excessive altruistic nature. She believes they throw themselves into danger despite knowing the risks instead of running from it. Such simplicity and bravery are the cause of their short lives. Her mother expresses her wish for her to be different from other Dryets. Her mother advises her to run when she needs to run. If being a coward is the only way to survive, she wants her to be a coward. Beaming at her daughter, she reminds her she's still a child so she can rely on her mother. Erica is touched by her speech. However, the next moment the atmosphere changes when her mother declares she is banned from climbing out through the window at night. Erica is shocked and thinks how come it leads to that conclusion. She then remembers something and informs her. While the knights were searching for them, they found this. She is holding a rabbit by its ears, letting it dangle in the air. She tells her that she knocked it down. Erica is surprised when it is dawned upon her that it is the rabbit, the magic beast from the other night. Her mother teaches her when hunting a magic beast, one of the most essential parts is making sure she finishes it off completely. The rabbit flinches at that. She states she brought it because it is still breathing, but then offers it to her, suggesting she is the one who first caught it. So why doesn't she finish it off herself? Erica stands there in shock. She thinks to herself, why does her mother sound like she's doing her kindness? Her wide eyes then land on the rabbit who looks so adorably innocent. She thinks it is just like her mom. She used to be called the witch of the battlefield in the war with the Corn Empire. Erica sweats nervously because it looks so pitiful. After she is left all alone with the rabbit, she wonders what should she do with this. There is a knock on the door and Betty enters asking how she's feeling. Her gaze falls on the rabbit. She asks Erica where did she get the cute bunny. From what Erica heard, the servants of House Driet were formerly pretty good fighters. But seeing her fall for such a shallow trick, she is sure Betty is not one of them. Betty realizes the bunny is missing fur in some places. Her eyes well up, and she wonders who did such a cruel thing. Erica states to herself that cruel person is her, Betty. She looks at the bunny with awe when she realizes it will look really cute when its fur grows back. Erica thinks it is only cute on the outside. Erica is aware there is a chance it can become aggressive again when surrounded by enemies. She also notices how it is slyly using its cuteness to gain both sympathy and affection. At the same time, it is reading her face too. She lets herself consider whether she should follow Mom's advice and kill it. She thinks the reason they suppress magic beasts is because of the threat they pose to human beings. So as long as that bunny isn't dangerous, she can keep it alive, right? She decides to recall how her father in her past life handled stubborn animals. She remembers complaining about the cow to her father that it was rebellious. Her father laughed and told her not all animals were obedient to humans. He further added that for a case like this, they applied a very simple method. She remembers his father's words clearly, make it understand when you reward it, and when you punish it, establish firm discipline. She remembers her father had said this in her past life. She is also aware since it is a magic beast, it might have a strong body. She believes the best reward for it would be food, but the problem is that it only eats human beings. She then asks Betty if she has any business with her. Betty flinches and realizes she was distracted by the bunny. She hands her over the rice box and informs her she came to give her this. A bright smile appears on Erica's face when she spots the rice box. She had forgotten about it, so she is grateful to Betty. Betty explains she was holding it in her hand so tightly that she thought it must be very precious to her. She also informs her master Roll tried to burn it the moment he saw it. Erica's lips part in shock, and she knew there was an overprotective side to him. She also thinks about how she almost risked her life to find this. Confusion and uncertainty flicker in her eyes when she wonders why he reacted like that. She wonders if he did not like this because it belonged to a magic beast. She further thinks if she wants to take these rice seeds out, she needs magic. However, she is not sure if Roll will do her this favor. Come to think of it, the person said it was originally a holy sword. As far as she knows, it was supposed to chase the female lead as its master. Garcian. The holy sword was House Driet's heirloom, but it was offered to the imperial family by the Drietisal ducal couple to stop Erica's execution. Pandora happened to find Garcian while she was working undercover as a knight in the imperial palace. Then the holy sword accepted her as its master. Even after being spared from execution, Erica did not repent from her wrongdoings. If anything, she was mad with jealousy because her family's heirloom chose Pandora as its master. Eventually, she decided to kill Pandora, not knowing the decision would lead her down the path of destruction. She thinks, well, if she is to survive, the original story needs to change, and maybe she could go look around her farm. Her attention is then grabbed by a voice. She wonders where did the voice come from. The voice screams, "It is him over here." She follows the direction the voice is coming from, and her gaze falls on the sword. He states, seriously, she did not forget his voice already, did she? Then she remembers, oh, it can speak too. He introduces himself as Garcian, the Holy Sword. He lets her know she woke him up from a 1,000-year-long sleep and asks how does she feel about meeting him. When she doesn't reply, he remarks she is so thrilled she is tongue-tied. She wonders what he is talking about. He then asks her what her wish is. Does she intend to save the world, or does she want to exterminate all magic beasts and establish a human-only world? Or, he suggests, how about getting rid of all the enemies that threatens her life? With an arrogant posture, he tells her to just name it. She lets him know she only has one wish. She lets him know in advance he would be doing great. A hoe is more convenient than a sword for plowing. She states she was going to plow the right side of the farm today. She expresses now that she has some. She feels very reassured. The poor sword screams at her, but she interjects, telling him not to cut her off. She is saying something important right now. He wants to know how it is that important. She replies because she needs to dig the field up first if she wants to plant seeds. The sword is offended and wants justice. What does she take the holy sword for? She asks him what is wrong. Does he not like taking the form of a hoe? If so, she can turn him into a spade. He screams. How dare she hurt this holy sword's pride? Plowing. Is she kidding him? He's a holy sword. He suddenly soars into the air, out of her reach, leaving her stunned. She finds it awesome that he can even fly and praises him that he's such a perfect hoe. The sword arrogantly states that there's nothing he, Garcian, cannot do. He reveals he can fly and make himself longer too because he is Garcian and the one and only holy sword. She jumps in the air and catches it. He whines that he was flying. She slams the table with her face so hard that it breaks into pieces. She laughs and teases maybe she's still too young. She beams at him and lets him know it's not easy to control her strength, the threat clear. The poor holy sword starts getting goosebumps. She tells him she thinks they can talk it out. He reluctantly says fine to plowing. That is what she wants to do, right? He tells her he is good at everything. The bunny sneaks from a distance and eavesdrops on them. When she spots him, he's ready to run, but she orders him to stop right there, causing him to flinch. She asks him where does he think he is going. The trembling bunny presses himself into the wall in fear when she strides towards him. She smiles at him, but her smile evil like her mother as she informs him she thinks she will hurry outside and do some plowing. The poor bunny, who now trembles, genuinely looks like a little tiny baby who needs saving. She reminds him of the old saying, never put off until tomorrow what magic beast you can trash today. She raises the sword and asks him shall they start his punishment. After using reward and punishment properly, she was finally able to tame the magic beast. She brings the chicken closer to his nose. The bunny sniffs it, his ears standing up. He seems to like it. She remarks it suits his taste. Huh. Chicken never fails to satisfy. The issue with her pet magic beast diet was resolved with chicken. As for his aggressiveness, which was the biggest headache for her, she managed to get it out of him after a few holy hothwacks. Now he looks pretty much like a normal pet. Except when he sometimes uses petty tricks, he's not so bad overall. After she decided to adopt him, she planned on using him as her farming assistant. She shows him a seed and teaches him it is called a seed. She lets him know from now on it is his job to plant seeds. Several days passed and finally the bunny was reborn as a decent farming assistant. She reveals she plants seeds pretty well now. The gardener approaches her. His gaze falls on the rabbit, and he says so she was serious about raising that beast. She responds yes, she thinks she will give it a try. He's more useful than she thought. The gardener exclaims it is amazing she managed to tame a creature that was born a fierce beast. He declares no one has ever succeeded in training a magic beast. She responds well, her bunny is pretty docile. He glances at the bunny's direction and realizes it is only to her ladyship because he unashamedly is glaring at him. She hits him with a hoe again, reminding him she told him not to show his fangs. The gardener sweats nervously because he cannot believe a magic beast can be so tame with a human. He comments that she is no ordinary human. He then also asks her to let him know if she needs a magic beast controller. It will help her restrain that beast magic power to a certain degree. She did not know there was such a thing. She tells him to get her one, please, and also requests him to watch her farm for a moment. He asks her if she's going out. She replies yes, she is going to the magic tower. Although her farm work was going smoothly, she had one problem. Since she came back, she has not seen Roll at all. She tried to contact him using a magic stone and left messages, but he never answered any of them. Sadness flickered in her eyes as she wondered if something happened to him. It has been a week now without any word from him, so she decided to go to the magic tower herself. She plans to apologize to Roll again when she sees him, and then ask him about the magic that is sealing the rice seeds. When she arrives, the mage tells her he's not available right now. Her mood worsens and she promises she won't take much of his time. But Liha explains he tried to contact his room several times himself, but he never answered. He further reveals he took sick leave and has not been appearing in his lab since. He also informs her he heard that there was an incident at the Ducal Palace, so perhaps he's still recovering. He assures her he doesn't think it's anything serious, so she should be at ease. Erica thinks to herself how she can't worry. In the novel, Roll hides his true magic power until he becomes an archmage. Since she was there too when he was fighting against the dragon, he probably couldn't use all his power and took a direct blow. She tells Liha she will come back tomorrow. She convinces herself he's a capable mage, so she doesn't think he was badly wounded and decides to come back again tomorrow. But maybe she thought of the matter too lightly. The next day, Liha tells her the same thing, that he seems to be under the weather today, too. The day after the next day, he lets her know he's busy with personal study. The day after that, Liha again apologizes to her. She was rejected several days in a row. Clearly, he's avoiding her on purpose. This time she doesn't give Liha a chance to explain and demands to know where his room is. He's taken aback by her change of attitude. She states she heard the rookies are assigned to the rooms on the first floor. His is at the end of the hall of the first floor, right? Before he can respond, she dashes away. He realizes there's no use in attempting to stop her. She slams her fists on his door, pleading with him to open the door. But all her pleas fall on deaf ears. She is aware he is listening. But despite her earnest efforts, she is only met with silence. She snaps, telling him to do as he pleases, and leaves. She makes it clear she won't care about him anymore. She's really leaving. She exits. He sits near the window, gazing out, watching her departure. She continued to make every effort to meet Roll afterward, but still she did not see him at all. She thinks it's her birthday soon. He won't be stuck in the magic tower even on that day, will he? There's a knock on the door, then Erica's mother calls out her name. She asks if she is going to stay at home today, or does she want to go somewhere with her. Julieta meets someone who thanks her for taking the time to come over. Julieta's face twists in sadness as she says her friend is ill. Of course she would come. Erica maintains her smile, but on the inside, she's tensing. She thinks this cannot be happening. She hasn't even solved the Roll issue yet. She never thought her mom's destination would be the male lead's house. Her mom then glances at her over her shoulder. She brings Erica forward and tells the woman she has someone to introduce her to. Erica greets the woman respectfully. Duchess Riepus beams at her and says it is her pleasure. Erica recognizes her as the male lead's mother. The women then start talking among themselves. Julieta asks her how she feels these days. Does she feel any better? The Duchess tells her she continues to see her doctor, but there isn't much difference. A boy observes them from a distance behind the tree. Just then, the maid arrives and informs him that His Grace is seeking his presence. The boy continues to gaze into the distance, his expression stoic, yet a gleam shines in his eyes. Erica nibbles on the biscuit. The Duchess's gaze fixates on her, prompting Erica to wonder about the sudden silence. She glances up and meets the Duchess's eyes, causing her to gasp. Erica realizes she was overly absorbed in her eating. It dawns on her that she's already on her 8th cookie. The Duchess admits to Giulietta that she wishes she could have raised her son normally like she did, having a fun time talking together and showing her love for him as much as she wanted to, but unfortunately the Riapus name makes it impossible. There's a short pause before she requests if she is gone someday, please look after her son. Erica thinks hearing the Duchess' calm voice, she realizes it sounds very lonely. When she returns back to her home, she tells the bunny she is back and demands they should go to work. However, she is unable to find him. She looks beneath the bed, but he's not there either. The bunny groans from his hiding spot. He just cannot stand that human anymore. He has regained his strength, and he wants to turn into beast form and get his revenge immediately. But he cannot because of the magic beast controller. She finally spots him. She asks him what he was doing here. She picks him up in her arms and declares they will go and plow the field. He groans in frustration because he's sick of plowing. He further thinks he cannot stand the boy who is watching him through the curtains. It is Roll. He is also sick of this uncivilized little plowing freak. He really wishes to get away from this bunch of fools, even for a day. On the field, the bunny is being scolded by Erica, who points out she works much faster than him. The sword intervenes, claiming to be much more useful and declares itself as sheer perfection. He exclaims he is still cool and wonderful, even in the form of a humble tool. Erica smiles, realizing Garcian seems to be really into farming now. She also notices the bunny is showing his fangs much less often than before. Her attention shifts when the rice box next to her sparkles. She reveals she asked the mages of the Project Tower about this magic seal, but no one knew how to break it. She thinks Roll is the only one who knows the answers, since he is the greatest mage in the novel. However, there is no way of meeting him. She also considers whether she should tell her parents that this hoe is actually the Holy Sword. She knows no one in this house will object to her becoming the heirloom's master, but once her parents know the fact, they will obviously make her take the swordsmanship lessons when her etiquette classes alone are already taking up too much of her time that she could spend on farming. She also knows 5 years from now her training as the Driet training will start whether she likes it or not. She decides for now she would keep it a secret that she became the Holy Sword Master. Since her mom and dad are busy with the magic beast issue, she won't have a problem hiding from them. Now that she has collected her thoughts here, she decides to call it a day. At night, Erica sleeps peacefully in her bed, the bunny snoozing at her feet, dreaming of chicken. Suddenly, someone appears beside her. Slowly, he extends his hand toward the bunny and picks him up. The bunny awakens abruptly, furious that someone dared to grab him by his nape. He recoils when he recognizes Roll and wonders what on earth he's doing here. He glares at it and thinks maybe he should just kill it. The poor bunny looks so freaked out. He knows this one is 100 times scarier than the human girl. Royal is unable to understand how she can be so generous to the magic beast that almost killed her. He wants to know, can she smell the murderous intent? It still reeks off. He knows it doesn't recognize its owner at all. He starts because of this thing he almost, but then trails off and sighs deeply. He thinks right, he almost lost her. He remembers when his mother first told him that she was his sister. He was scared that if he touched her he would hurt her. He could see the little baby looked so fragile and precious that he couldn't even hold her. Just looking at her made him happy. With this beautiful baby girl born into their family, he believed they would make a perfect family together. However, how mistaken he was. He remembers the memory where he ended up shattering her favorite plate, and she was crying telling him to go away, and she hated him. His only sister did not need him seeing his sister deny. His existence was so hurtful that he left for the magic tower. He wonders, but why? He remembers her pleading if he could at least not hate her. He wants to know why she's doing this to him now. He's scared of being denied by her again. Nevertheless, he found himself already being swayed by her again. He admits he followed her, fearing that she might enter the forest swarming with magic beasts. And when he saw her hurt, he felt a sudden rush of anger inside of him. That's why he shunned her. He cannot let her walk all over him again. He grits his teeth as he admits from the moment she was born he never stopped wanting her. But she was the one who was always harsh on him and kept him at a distance. His gaze then falls on the magic beast controller. He puts a spell on him and warns him if he doesn't want to die, he better behave himself, or else the moment he entertains the thought of harming her, the spell he has just put on him will make his head explode. He looks maniac when he mutters he could just kill him immediately. But if she hated him again for that, that would make him feel very crappy. He then tosses the bunny back onto the bed and orders it to scram. The poor bunny scurries off, seeking refuge beneath the bed, trembling with fear. Roll gazes down at Erica's sleeping figure. He absent-mindedly twirls a strand of her hair and whispers softly. He hates her. He hates her for toying with his feelings. But he hates himself too, for allowing her to do that to him. The bunny thinks he knew he was a total nutcase. He calls him the great god of all magic beasts, his black majesty. He wonders how he ended up in the den of those psychos. The next day, Erica wakes up and notices that the bunny is not on the bed with her. She looks beneath it and finds him sleeping there. She wonders why he's chosen such an odd spot to nap. Just then, the door swings open and Betty enters, informing her that she's just in time. Her Grace is waiting for her. She looks alert as she inquires why so early. However, Betty does not know any details. Just as Erica is being prepared for the day, she admits she's getting nervous. She realizes there are so many reasons to be called by Mom. It is hard for her to fathom which one of them she wants to see her for. In the living room, Erica snaps out of her thoughts when her mom calls her name. Her mom asks her if she is listening to her. She apologizes to her mom and asks what she was saying. Julieta reminds her, isn't her birthday just around the corner? She further adds she will turn 10 this year, so she has been thinking of throwing a banquet at home. To their family, the age of 10 means they are ready to become a public member of the Driette household. So Julieta would like to celebrate her upcoming birthday in a big way. She asks her opinion. Erica smiles and says she would love to. Suddenly, her mother's demeanor shifts, and she admits it seems strange rumors are going on these days. She asks Erica if she knows where the Holy Sword is. Erica swallows nervously because she thought she successfully turned the corner. She repeats the Holy Sword. Julieta responds yes, their family's heirloom. She was told it suddenly disappeared. She remembers Erica sometimes took it to her room, but it's been a while since she last saw it. Erica tells her not to worry. She's keeping it well in her room. This catches her mother off guard, so she explains she feels so great and proud when she's looking at it that she thought she would like to appreciate it in her room whenever she can. She remains quiet, so Erica prepares herself to be scolded and to be told to put it back. But to her surprise, her mother permits it to keep it there. Julieta states, although her father failed to be chosen by it, who knows, she may become its master. Erica sighs with relief because she doesn't seem to know the Holy Sword is a hoe now. Her mother then changes the topic and tells her she has heard she's growing crops these days. She asks her if that is true. Erica starts sweating profusely as she thinks finally, the most feared moment has come. Our female lead can be heard yelling and asking why this cannot happen. To this, she is told that she's a member of the ducal family and not some farmer. Our female lead questions if there's even a rule that forbids the Duke's daughter from becoming a farmer. Her mother then does a face palm and questions if this is the reason Erica has been making a mess in their garden. She then tells Erica to listen. She says that this family is a closed one, and this is the reason why Erica has spent so much time by herself so far. Yet the truth is, there are many people from the outside world who wish to be close with a lady from the ducal house. She mentions how not everybody is going to be friendly to Erica, and that there's a few that will employ dirty tricks behind her back. Erica thinks to herself about how she already knows this much, and that she's likely going to have many enemies, that even a minor mistake will tarnish her name. This is due to how the original Erica from the novel got ostracized by everyone and removed. Her mother continues to say that Erica will debut in society in 7 years, and that there is still much to learn till then. This is because Erica is going to be the next Duchess for the Dryad house. This alarms Erica, who had forgotten about this fact. She's been the heir this whole time while she was focused on being a farmer and surviving. Erica then says all right to her mother, and that on her 15th birthday she will be taking lessons. Her mother asks if Erica has made up her mind, to which the young girl says that she'll do this as long as she's allowed to continue farming. Her mother starts to protest, but Erica interrupts, saying that if her mom allows this, she promises to give it her all in the training and lessons. Our female lead recalls how the real Erica used to be very unruly, and how her mother would often worry about how to train her. Her mom is silent as Erica continues to say that her mom can take back this permission if she breaks her word. This ultimately leads to her mother agreeing. Her mom warns to keep farming as just a hobby. This causes our female lead to giggle and think about how it'll never be just a hobby. Her mom then says, as promised, Erica will take legions right when she turns 15. Erica says yes, as she now feels free to farm, and how getting permission was truly the hardest part. It is then said that our female lead didn't know it then, but this promise would bring a lot of troubles later on. We later see our young female lead in a dress as someone tells her to look at the mirror. It is now the day of her 10th birthday. Erica stares into the mirror and thinks about how good she looks. A maid is in tears as she says the young heir looks like a fairy. The maid then says they even have fairy wings on deck, to which Erica says she is fine without it. Her father then pulls up into the room and asks if his little princess is ready. She turns her head back with a smile, before then yelling yes, father, happily. This causes him to be stunned at how sparkling his precious daughter is. Erica is now confused as she notes how something appears wrong with him. Normally he'd rush over to give her a hug. Tears then roll down his cheek as he begins to speak. With tears in his eyes, he laments about how he should have had many portraits of Erica painted earlier on. The maid mentions how she can't believe Erica is already 10, as her father says her childhood has passed way too fast. This all causes Erica to feel awkward and note how overdramatic these people are. We later see a very fancy and shiny chandelier that hangs under a glass ceiling. Many fancy meals and fruits line up the white cloth table. People move about speaking with one another, before we then see the female lead at the stairs. She wonders why the other two couldn't stop crying earlier. She then stops for a moment to look at the party and has a thought. She recalls how Roll would go to Erica's birthday party, but after he had been insulted by Erica, he chose to stray away from her. She thinks about how in the novel, Roll will surely make an appearance today, and that this is her chance to finally talk with him about it. We then see a group of people causing a ruckus as they yell for Lady Erica. One holds up a happy birthday sign as they make their presences known. They then finally spot her as our female lead is stunned. She wonders what is making these mages so hyped up today. As the 3 mages approach the stairs, they all wonder where she went, and how she was just here a second ago. They then scream her name again and rush around trying to find her. Her hair blows in the wind as she starts to thank them for attending, but that she is sorry because she cannot afford to be distracted and possibly miss out on meeting Roll. As she buys time hiding out here, she decides to start thinking about where Roll could be. Her hand reaches up to touch the door handle, but all of a sudden, a rustle sound can be heard, and our female lead stares up in disbelief. It is Roll who stands before her looking back. She thinks about how well dressed and dazzling he looks today. She then regains focus, as Roll then asks if she plans to speak with him. Our female lead crosses her hand and tells him no, as she is still mad at him. Roll mentions how the maids seem to be searching for her throughout the halls, to which Erica doesn't seem to care. Roll then mentions how someone seems to not want to be found right now. To this Erica turns and says to not tell the mages. This draws out a smile from Roll. Even Erica is stunned as she wonders if he's really smiling at her now. Roll asks Erica if after all those times barging into the magic tower and messing around, has she gotten tired of him? Roll then says that he heard she was looking for him at the banquet earlier and asks how long she plans to stay mad at him. This stuns Erica, who wonders if he was watching her the whole time. Erica mentions how he was the one avoiding her, though, to which Roll says it's because she changed overnight. She had previously made it very clear that she hated him for many years. He mentions how he was scared about approaching her even if she had a changed attitude, as he thought she'd just run away. So that is why he had avoided her. Roll tells her this is what he came here to tell her and that he'll be leaving now. Erica wonders if that's really it and mentions how she finally got to talk to him. She then says no as her face turns blue. She reaches out and thinks about how if she lets him go, then all the opportunities may go away too, and this relationship may be beyond repair forever. Roll then has a stunned look on his face. His hands are being held. Erica yells out saying that she won't run away. She thinks about how she may not have understood everything he said, but that if he's worried she's going to run away, then she has a stoic look on her face before then letting go of his hand and wondering what she should do. To earn his trust, she starts to speak again, saying that her farm is filled with nutritious leaf mold, how it's the best soil with good drainage that has a good mix of moisture and nutrients. The mages also told her they'd lend a helping hand with her farm work. All this is to say that she will not go anywhere as she won't leave this farm behind. She then asks if Roll is relieved now. He asks if she really isn't gonna run away, to which Erica says of course. He asks if it's due to the soil, to which she says yes. He mentions the farm work, to which Erica says she loves it. He questions her about her parents, to which Erica says she loves them as well. He asks what about himself, to which Erica says of course. This causes her to be stunned upon realizing what she said. Roll meanwhile can't help laughing. He covers his mouth as he can't contain his giggles. Erica watches this and can't help smiling as she says everything is true, but that she's still a bit mad at him. Erica then asks if he'll keep avoiding her, to which he says he doesn't know. This angers Erica, who mentions how she went to his room every day, but he never answered. She had gotten so upset she cultivated crops at the magic tower too. Roll asks why she got upset, to which Erica says she was scared he'd never want to see her again. Roll smiles as Erica has a stunned look on her face. She wonders if he's just messing with her right now. Roll asks if this means she was anxious that she might have never seen him again. In her mind, she notes how irritating him teasing her is, but that this is nothing compared to what she did in the past. Roll then questions how she thinks he felt about it, to which it further annoys her. Roll says he actually felt really good. He then calls Erica and grabs her hand. He asks if they can dance, which causes her to wonder if this gesture symbolizes reconciliation. She tells him sure. Her feet move about, and the violins start to play, as we see the pair at the dance floor. Erica mentions how this song was something they practiced dancing when they were younger, which surprises Roll that she remembered. It is noted how there was a point where she started mistreating Roll, but before then they spent a lot of time together. She then tells him to prepare to be amazed by her great dancing skills. They continue to dance as Erica asks what Roll meant earlier when he said she might run away. She asks if he thought she would eventually hate him again. He tells her yes, but that's not all of it. He mentions how he did not want her to take him for a fool, to which Erica says she won't, and that she's changed. Roll then mentions how there's one more thing. Roll says that once Erica sets her mind to something, she seems to pursue it no matter what. And eventually, she disappears while chasing it. In her mind, she notes how she was surprised, since what he said is partially true. She has made up her mind to leave behind the Driet name so she can continue to farm. The Erica from the novel also jumped right into trying to be with the Crown Prince. This caused her to suffer a tragic fate. Her eyes look down for a bit, before she then raises her head and stares forward. Her eyes sparkle a bit. Above her we see flowers raining down from the ceiling and appearing everywhere. Roll calls to Erica as he holds something in his hand. She looks up at him confused for a bit, before a flower is then gently placed in her hair. He finally tells her happy birthday, and calls her his lovely little sister. He thinks about how he'd do anything for her, even if it's something he doesn't want to do. We hear someone yelling later in the morning. The maid tells the lady to please stay still. Erica says that it hurts too much though. The maid responds by mentioning how Erica doesn't want muscles in her legs though, right? It is said that last night, right after finishing their dance of reconciliation, she then asked to dance with her father, then Keel, and then Hubert and Felix, and then even the mages from the tower. Everyone and anyone was asking to dance with her. This is why she didn't even get the chance to greet many of the young gentlemen who went to her birthday banquet. Due to all the non-stop dancing, there are now knots in her leg. Erica tells Betty that she is fine and that she'll get better doing some field work. Betty responds by mentioning how Erica always says field work is some magical cure-all. The maid then asks if Erica opened all her gifts, to which our female lead says yes. She recalls how there were many great dresses, overcoats, boots, and jewelry. She had managed to open up all the gifts before she went to bed. Betty then asks what Master Roll ended up getting for Erica. Betty says she is sure he gave her a magic device, as she's heard his magic is getting better by the day. It is mentioned how there's only a few mages on the continent, since most hide away in the magic tower to study. To get a magic device is a great honor. Erica then starts to say of course he got her a gift, before then realizing that she doesn't actually remember getting anything from him. He had always gotten her something since last year as courtesy. She wonders if those flowers he made were really his gift. She then openly states that she got nothing from Roll. Betty says no way and questions if he really didn't bring her a present. Erica says she needs to visit the magic tower to ask for one. Betty says of course, and that Erica needs to get something great. Betty says they need to get changed now. In her mind, Erica notes how she has an excuse to visit the tower now, and that she can ask him to break the seal. Later we see someone say done. Our female lead mentions how the bribe is ready. She notes how she'll have to ask for his help after giving this, and that there's no way he'll straight up refuse. She knocks at the door calling for Roll and is again met with silence. She starts to move about and wonders if anybody is inside. She then clasps onto the bribe and mentions how it's heavier than she thought, but that she is a Driette so she can do this. We then hear a creak near the window. Roll appears as Erica is trying to climb the window. This causes her to be stunned as she wonders if he's been in the room the whole time. She falls to the ground with a thud as Roll asks what she's doing here. She mentions how she called him, but she could not hear an answer. In her mind, she thinks about how shameless it would be if she started out bringing up the birthday gift. She openly tells him she was just chilling here and getting some rest. She mentioned how nice the weather and wind are today. Yet at that moment, it starts to rain, as she thinks about how unexpected that was. As lightning falls, Roll sarcastically agrees with her about the weather. Erica then yells and tells him to wait. She mentions how she wanted to give him these flowers and that she made it for him herself. She asks if he'll accept it. He doesn't say a word as there's a grim look on his face. It seems as though he's asking what she's really up to. She tells him she'll just leave it here then. He grabs at the flower ring as she wonders if this means he's showing interest. Roll then tells Erica that she should put it on for him. She asks if he really means it and internally wonders what is so hard about putting a flower wreath on himself. As she tries to do this, he seems to be purposely not lowering his head. This causes her to pout and say that she quits. He asks her why, as she mentions how uncooperative he is. He then says the word fly. It is then that her body starts to float in the air. He asks her if she can do it now. She finds this magic unbelievable, as he also helped her get dry from the rain. She then tells him she'll put it on now and smirks. He smiles with the wreath on his head as Erica mentions how he looks like a fairy now. He calls this an honor. Erica thinks about how they are finally getting closer, and that Roll used to hate her in the novel. But it might change now. She's so touched by the moment that she's starting to remember her past life. Roll says that it would appear as though it's his turn to give her a gift for her birthday. He asks what she would like from him, and if it's to remove the seal on her necklace. He is stunned and wonders when he took it, and then asks how he knew that. Roll says it's because she always carries it with her. She asks if he had been watching her all this time, as he hands something over to her. A smile crosses her face as it finally happened. The rice seeds are now in her hands. Our female lead clutches onto the seeds as she says thank you to Roll. She then jumps up over the window to give him a big hug. As she does so, she calls him the best, and continues to say that from now on he is her fairy. She continues to call him a future archmage and the best, but he seems to get annoyed. With one quick snap of a finger, Erica feels a jolt. She is suddenly in her room again. She appears to have made him so bashful he sent her back. She giggles, noting how Roll is actually such a shy person. She lays back thinking about how all of this feels like a dream, and that she's finally able to grow some rice. Her eyes sparkle as her dreams are now starting to become true. Or she had thought so. This turned out to be some wishful thinking on her end. With the mage's help, her farm was able to expand without any issues. All the crops would grow up and get harvested very soon. Yet, she's still not sure why her rice, which is the most important crop to her, is still yet to even bud. When that seal that was on her necklace got broken, she had managed to get 5 seeds. After letting one soak in water, she planted it in her seedbed and has been waiting. Yet there's no sign of it even coming close to budding. As she holds the remaining 4, she wonders if these are all dead. Looking at them up close now, there's something strange. They all look quite dry. Actually, they just seem lifeless. She then starts to yell about how breaking that seal was already enough trouble. Now she has to bring these seeds back to life as well. She then realizes something. Maybe he could help revive her rice. Driet is one of 2 prominent ducal families, with the other one being House Respicet. Duke Respicet happens to have a son that is known for having a life-infusing hand. Sean Respicet happens to be one of the male leads in the novel that can do this. She then has second thoughts, though, as this is quite a dangerous idea. What if things go wrong and start to follow what was written in the novel again? She notes how there must be some other way as the mystical creatures stare at her. After she made up her mind to revive these seeds, 5 years would then pass, and she still remained clueless about the whole thing. We hear birds chirping in the background of the house. Cabbage are beginning to form from the arable land. A lady appears with a green hairband. She moves about with a stoic look on her face. As she inspects her crops, she notes how there's going to be a rich harvest this year as well. This is Erica Driet at the age of 15. She holds a container and thinks about how she's still yet to revive the rice. She wonders if the male lead really is the only option left. She then recalls how the people from House Respicet are usually black-hearted though, so she's very reluctant to get them involved. Even if she were to go meet him, what would she even do next, and how would she get close to him? This means she'd better look for another way and be careful to not get involved with other male leads apart from Roll. It is then she runs into somebody. This causes her to drop the bunny and the jar of candy. The person stares at the rolling jar as he says, "Oh my." He then seems to pick up the candy with magic. He then cleans them before putting them back in a jar. Erica thanks the person as she starts to pick her stuff back up. Her pet seems to be very agitated by this person's presence. Erica herself notes how just by instinct, based on the sky blue hair and the blue eyes, this person is. Just then someone calls for Erica. Her mother mentions how she finally found Erica and how the teacher will be here today. Erica gets nervous before her mother continues to ask if Erica forgot about that promise to start lessons after turning 15. Her mother then breaks out a smile as she realizes the situation. She says that she'll introduce this man to Erica since they seem to have already met. This is Sean Respicet, and he will be here as her teacher starting from today. He may be young, but he's got the best academic background around and should have no trouble teaching her. Erica continues to be nervous as this truly isn't a dream. Right after she had planned to never meet him, he shows up right before her. It makes her wonder if this is a death flag. Sean bows and says it is nice to meet Erica. In her mind, Erica thinks about how her mother has just given her poop. From generation to generation, divine powers have run in the Respicet family. This is why they hold the nickname Respicet of the Shield. Though it's not impossible for them to wield it as a weapon, the divine power is actually weaker than magic, so the force itself is not highly recognized, and the divine power's true value comes from the healing ability that is passed down the Respicet bloodline. Due to this miraculous power, they can help save people from near-death wounds, and this gave them the nickname of being the Empire's Shield. This power gave them equivalent status to the Driet's household, the strongest attack force. The young master from Respicet was also born with incredible memory and is a genius. His true strength comes from a hidden force. Sean is the head of Macchioli, which is an underground organization that tries to usurp the imperial family. This is the person who is currently marking her test papers. She's blanking out as he calls to her. She continues to think about how the future antagonist is her teacher, before his yells finally get to her. She says yes and wonders if he's done scoring the tests. She thinks about how, of all people, the usurper had to be her teacher. He mentions how she was only able to get full marks on botany, which causes her to celebrate. But he mentions how that means she totally failed all other subjects. She seems to struggle with anything that isn't farming. Sean mentions how her grades in language and history are very bad, so they should focus on those two more. She agrees as she begins to think that he's a pretty good teacher despite being a rebel leader. He's not even scolding her for these poor marks. He questions when did she begin to take interest in botany, to which she says she always loved growing plants. He mentions how surprising this is and how she might even be better than experts at botany. She thanks him and thinks about how praises from the genius of this world doesn't feel so bad. He then mentions how the Driet estate has looked different lately and asks if Erica tends to the farm herself. She says yes, and that she grows the crops herself. Just yesterday she sowed sweet potatoes and today will be working with normal potatoes. She also mentions having made a flower bed and asks if he's seen it. She then apologized for being so chatty and that it's just farming makes her so happy that it makes her quite talkative. Her smile seems to stun him for a moment. He asks if she just said happy. She tells him yes, and that when you do something you like, you become happy. She asks if he has something like that. He ponders about the questions before then telling her he doesn't really know. This causes her to realize she's been expecting too much from a future antagonist. He then asks if she knows what a red spider lily is, and how it's also called the red resurrection lily. Erica wonders what he's asking this as she tells him yes, she does know. He asks if she knows why the plant has such a name, to which she says no. He tells her it's because its leaves and flowers can never meet one another. The flowers bloom before the leaves come out. When the leaves sprout, the flower will have wither away by then. Side note, but isn't this from Demon Slayer 2? Sean then mentions how happiness to him is like the red spider lily. So this is why he does not know what he likes to do. This leaves her speechless as she recalls how Sean was cold and calculating in the novel. So emotional deficiency must be natural for him. Sean asks if that answers her question, to which Erica says yes. He says good, and it is noted that after this moment, they would have light talks like this again often. It was likely due to the ice being broken between the two that caused her to eventually totally forget about the dark secret he was hiding. Later, we see her looking shocked. She yells that his finger is bleeding. He says it's just a paper cut as Erica then tells him to hold his injured body part above his heart. He looks back at her as she tells him he needs to keep holding it like this, and that she'll have Betty bring a band-aid. She then yells for Betty and asks for a first aid kit. Sean tries to say it's fine and there's no need. He tells her to have a look as his hand is now totally fine. She takes a sigh of relief and realizes she forgot about his self-healing. Sean asks if she is startled, to which she says yes, but is relieved now. He calls this unexpected and then says they should call it a day here. Erica thinks about how the atmosphere totally changed, but that she may be imagining things. Sean then stops and brings up the question she asked earlier. She is confused as he mentions the one where she asked what he likes. He moves his hand around a bit, which causes Erica to flinch. He then reaches for a strand of her hair. At that point, a rustling sound can be heard. He then says, "Those that defy my expectation." That's what he likes very much. His eyes continue to gaze at her before he smiles. He tells her he'll see her again at the next class. She has a nervous smile on her face as she thinks about how his eyes were so sharp in that instant, and how she felt like he'd pounce at her if she lowered her guard. She wonders what Sean thought about Erica in the novel and recalls how he at least didn't hate her. Yet, Erica's love for the Crown Prince, and how Driet was a strong supporter of the Imperial family. Maybe that is why Sean moved his army into the Imperial Palace during the rebellion. He had looked coldly at the Driet House members. Before saying good, he'd have to have taken them out himself. Erica then wonders if Sean is still aiming for the throne despite all the changes to the original plot. She wonders if there is a death flag in her hand now. Garcian is a holy sword that's imbued with the god's power. The House of Driet is protected by this sword. Yet being protected by a holy sword and having divine powers is totally different. Right now, the only person with divine powers who can revive her rice seeds is Rispicet. We see her pulling the petals off a flower as she debates on whether to ask him or not. The petals continue to pile up before the last petal is pulled. This petal tells her to forget it. This causes her to wonder if she should really give up. She decides that there's no benefit for owing a favor to the antagonist. But if she had to give up rice farming to save her own life, she then sits up and yells no, and that she can't do that. She may not make it after getting involved with the male leads, but she refuses to give up her dreams. She decides to try making the request. A few days would pass and today another class starts. We see her looking across at him from outside a window. His lessons lately have actually made her interested in studying, leading to academic progress. She starts by asking if divine powers can save barren lands. He tells her of course. It actually can even bring dying people to life. If it's able to make barren land fertile again, then it should be able to revive dead seeds as well. He tells her there are limits though, especially if the land is too big or completely dead. Even divine powers won't be enough then. Erica then says she envies him still. Sean mentions how the Driet house has a gift with swordsmanship instead. Erica responds that swordsmanship can't help her farm. She mentions how frustrating it is that her dreams to be the best farmer will only end as a dream. Sean mentions how it's way too early to be defeated though. This surprises Erica as she notes how he acknowledged her dream and tried to console her. He might actually be a better person than she previously thought. He then offers her what looks like candy. He places it near her mouth. As she chews, he asks if she feels better now. She thanks him and says it tastes good. She thinks about how purified food tastes so good and how she's used to him feeding her now. Sean tells her to stop making that disheartened face and how it makes her look ugly. She then asks if he just called her ugly and tells him that hurts. Sean tells her to not be upset and says he'll give her strawberry candy this time. Erica notes how strawberry is her favorite. This causes Sean to have a smile. He mentions how her strawberries are growing very well and that Chef Keel gave him a lot of them the other day. Sean mentions how the chef said Erica harvested them herself. Erica says that's right. Sean mentions how she's never been educated in farming, yet seems to be very good at it. He tells her that everyone has their own talents, and then says he's pretty handsome. This leaves him totally stunned. Erica wonders why he got so silent and wonders if her flattery is working. is now the right time to ask him. She then asks if he could do a favor, to which he asks what it is. She questions if he can revive these rice seeds. She mentions how this is the crop she really wants to grow and how they've long been extinct. She mentions his power, as he tells her it is theoretically impossible. Divine powers are usually for recovery and not to undo death. He then mentions how these seeds seem to have been sealed right after drying, so there is life energy still around the hull. He mentions how since they are tiny, it might still be possible. This would still be going against death, which is a law of nature and would require a price. This is why he cannot grant her that favor, but that they might be able to make a deal. She reiterates the word deal, before he then glances over and says, "You know what?" He mentions how taming magic beasts are impossible for people in this world, yet Erica was able to do it. She nervously laughs it off and thinks about how she used her past memories to do it. Sean tells her there is a magic beast he's looking for, and that he will comply with her request if she finds it for him. He asks if she's up for this offer, and if she's willing to make the deal with him. It is nighttime as the moon shines on the palace. Our magical beast yawns, as Erica asks what kind of beast he's looking for. He says it is a dark one with the shape of a human being. We then hear Erica yell yay as she hops out of the room. She lands right onto the ground and carries on. She thinks about how a magic beast even Sean failed to find won't be easy, but she'll get clues just from searching the mountains every night. She tells her rice seeds to wait just a bit longer. She'll find this black magic beast and bring the rice to life soon. We hear the rustling from the trees as Erica talks about how she thought they'd stumble into some clues at least while wandering around. She mentions how she's at a loss for what to do. She thinks about how Sean only gave her a bit of information as something seems to creep up on her. Her head turns as she notes how she heard something. Her eyes then become fully alert. She stares at the plant in front of her, wondering if that's a wild ginseng. Erica flinches in shock, wondering what in the world. However, she realizes it is a wild ginseng. From the looks of those leaves, it's definitely a wild ginseng. While she was studying botany for her farming, she happened to read about wild ginseng. In this world, wild ginseng is considered a legendary plant that can undo the effects of dark magic and bring the dead back to life. She cannot believe that rare and precious treasure is right before her eyes. Bracken jumps out of her arms and is busy scratching under his ear. She reminds him it is his turn and instructs him to forage as many wild ginseng as possible. Her eyes twinkle and she giggles to herself while the rabbit watches in confusion. In her mind, she claims it as her own while extending her hand to grasp it. However, she collapses to the ground and it slips from her grip, leaving her in astonishment. She gazes at it in disbelief, pondering, what was that? Did it just move? However, her surprise vanishes when she reminds herself what is so surprising about a moving wild ginseng in a world where people use magic and divine power. She ponders, does it think she would give it up just because of this? She draws out her sword, putting Garcian into work. However, the wild ginseng runs for the hills, causing her to run after it. While Garcian, the sword, deludes himself into thinking that Thing must have been intimidated by his formidable presence. Apparently, the most sane among the trio is left behind. Bracken smirks, unable to believe that she left him, a magic beast, alone in the woods of the Eggplant Mountains. He starts running towards his freedom, thinking this is the perfect chance to return to his parents and his Draken people. Believing that everyone must be anxiously searching for him, he thinks about those complete nutcases and is relieved to be finally free from them. Happiness shines in his eyes when he thinks that if his people learn that he, the heir to the Draken imperial family, has been kidnapped by those evil people, the whole Draken race will be enraged and rise up for vengeance. Upon discovering the cave, his thoughts involuntarily drift to his sweet home and his parents. Yet, the reality is starkly different. He maintains his distance as he observes his father, who is expressing his pride to the crown prince, proclaiming that merely looking at him makes him full of joy. Rakan is shocked when he finds the necklace that is only meant for the crown prince on his brother's neck. He is unable to believe it. However, he is still determined to claim his rightful place no matter what. But before that, he is going to teach him a lesson. He lunges to attack his brother. However, he ends up being the one injured. He scowls at his brother, who smirks and remarks that he has become a mere pathetic bunny with no magic power. His parents also ask in surprise, is he really their son, and remarks how shameless of him to come back. He is aware he has become weak because he has not eaten human beings for a long time, and this magic beast's controller is binding his power. He also knows in the world of magic beasts, where the strong prey on the weak, there's no place for someone like him. He thinks about where he should go now. He halts when he feels his lord's energy. He is sure the god of magic beasts will direct him to a new path and decides to follow him. When the wild ginseng halts due to the sudden silence, she seizes the moment and attacks from above. She reveals this is the farmer's martial technique of striking with lashing vines. Erica smiles and exclaims she found the root and declares she did it. With this, she can start cultivating ginseng now. However, when she looks up, she is unable to recognize where she is currently, and that is when Rakan comes to her mind. She searches him around, thinking if he runs into other magic beasts, he cannot fully use his power because of the magic beast controller. Guilt eats up at her because she became blinded by a wild ginseng and lost Rakan, who is like her precious family in the woods. She snaps out of her thoughts when she notices movement. It's Rakan, running deeper into the wild forest. Without hesitation, she chases after him, asking where he is going and warning him not to run too fast because it's dangerous. But he does not listen to her, forcing her to wonder if he cannot hear her. As she ponders further, she wonders where he is running to. Suddenly, she feels dizzy. She halts and looks around, realizing she is in an unfamiliar place with different weather. She wonders, where is she? She never thought there would be a place like this in the middle of the woods. She remembers she came here for Rakan and starts looking for him. According to her memories of her previous life, the noble count's daughter was not a happy ending story. The female lead and the male leads all lose their lives in the end. And the main culprit behind the tragedy is this man right before her eyes. His name is Dion Behemoth, also known as the King of Magic Beasts. She does not remember the details because she only skimmed through the last chapters of the book. But at least she remembers that he only appears in the second half of the story, and that he begins to have feelings for Pandora after being slightly injured by the holy sword in her hand. However, 5 years after that, despite being the king of beasts, Dion comes to completely lose himself in dark magic, and eventually, the brutal massacre he commits leads to the fall of the world, Pandora's death, and the tragic end of the story. The scene of him holding Pandora's heart in his hand with a smile on his face was particularly memorable to many of the book's readers. Erica's smile is frozen on her face when she realizes he is the most dangerous character in the novel. She tells herself to try to look like the least harmful person in the world. She greets him and assures him she is a farmer and herbalist just passing by. She shows him her wild ginseng and explains she entered the woods to catch this but got lost while chasing it, also apologizing for the interruption. She then points out that the little buddy in his arm is also her companion, so if he does not mind, she would like to get him back. When he remains unresponsive, she thinks to herself, this is exactly why she has tried to avoid the male leads, so why do they have to pop up one by one and get in her way? She strides over to him and tells him he's like family to her and explains how precious Rakan is to her. Dion points out this is a magic beast, he might attack you. Does she still want to keep him close? She lets him know he has already attacked her once, so she should be fine. How so? He inquires. She confesses because she's stronger. She smiles and says if he acts up she can just whack him with her knuckles. When Dion remains motionless, she admits that she believes they can become like family, because a magic beast can also feel sadness and happiness, just like humans do. Rakan looks at his lord, communicating with his eyes, asking if it would be alright if he stays with this human. He appears to ponder for a moment, but then he throws him over to Erica. Erica looks at Raken's face, thinking he must have been happy in the arms of his king. She announces to the Lord of the Beasts that she will take her leave then. Now that she thinks about it, the temperature in this place is much lower than the rest of the woods. She wonders if the dark magic that made Dion lose his mind in the novel is already acting on him, but is smart enough to know it is the lead's business, not hers. She desperately wants to leave quickly, but her conscience won't allow it. She mutters a curse under her breath and returns to him, asking, "Isn't he cold?" She takes off her scarf, instructing him to put this around his neck. She cannot help but consider what if he goes insane sooner than the original plot while staying in this cold place. He seems dumbfounded, and she remarks in her mind, "What a fitting energy for the final boss of this story." Seeing how he's been pretty gentle so far, she does not think he intends to kill her, at least for now. She then hesitantly asks him, is he hungry by any chance? She informs him that if she needs anything else, he should please let her. However, she hesitates under his gaze, then adds, "No." She takes 2 steps backward, putting a safe distance between them. She also adds if he would like to become a farmer, he can let her know that too. She bids him goodbye and is ready to leave, but stops as he mumbles death under his breath. He admits he wishes death, but he cannot just die. He tried stabbing and ripping himself, but he only shed blood. He cannot end his life. She seems surprised and clarifies, so he's asking her to end his life. He says it is correct. She realizes he means what he just said. He's desperate enough to ask such a thing to a human he just came across. As the villain who is destined to kill her and everyone else, she notices Dion looks like the unhappiest and most helpless of all the male leads he has met so far. He is supposed to love Pandora, get rid of any threats to her safety, and become a menace to her, so why did he ask that? He gazes at her. Is she crying? She flinches in surprise, noticing her eyes have welled up. Hastily, she tries to wipe away her tears and sniffles. She just feels so sorry for him. He closes his eyes and sighs, instructing her to leave. As he releases his magic, which envelops her, her face contorts with fear. However, much to her surprise, she is back at the entrance to the Eggplant Mountains. She admits to herself she was so scared when the dark energy suddenly surrounded her, but now she realizes it was just teleport magic, and she's so relieved. It was then that she realized that due to the shocking encounter with Dion, she had completely forgotten why she entered the woods in the first place. She's glad to escape safely from the king of magic beasts, but wonders what she should do now. Her original plan completely fell apart. She was going to lead a quiet life as a partner in this world. So why does she keep getting involved with the male leads? If she had known that the black magic beast Shan is looking for was actually Dion, the king of magic beasts, she groans in frustration. If only she had known it beforehand. However, she asks herself, if she had known what then, he would have easily seen through her, and she would have gotten herself into another trouble. Raken thinks to himself, he somehow came back to this noisy place. Now that the god of magic beasts allowed him to stay with this human, he realizes he should take care of this silly girl for a while. She is still mumbling to herself now, stating all she wanted was to become a successful farmer. However, she then convinces herself to calm down. She needs to get a hold of herself. She remembers the Shan in the novel loathed magic beasts. She realizes if he's looking for Dion, the king of magic beasts, there can only be one reason. He is trying to borrow the magic beast's power and make the revolt successful. The origin of magic is the Red Dragon, the head of all ancient dragons, and the descendants of the Red Dragon have ruled this empire for generations. They are the Draco Imperial family. Most of its members have abilities that surpass normal human skills. Thanks to their supernatural powers, they have been able to maintain their iron fist over the empire for the past 1,000 years. Therefore, the private army under House Repice alone could not stand a chance against the imperial military forces. In the novel, Shan failed to earn the Magic Beasts Corporation. but he somehow caused division within the imperial family, and eventually his rebellion succeeded. After that, however, Dion killed Pandora. Her death led Shan to join forces with Loxolin and fight together against Dion to exterminate the entire magic beast race. This was the ending of the noble count's daughter. She thinks now that the story has diverged from the original plot. She's not sure if Shan is still pursuing the same goal as in the novel. Still, the Dion she met was enclosing himself with such strong dark energy that it was hard for her to even stand before him. She admits she would not have worried about Shan before, but now that she is acquainted with him, she is afraid Dion might kill him. She thinks maybe she got closer to him than she thought in such a short period of time. She wonders if there is a way to make him revive her rice seeds while holding back Dion's whereabouts from him. Shan asks again to be sure that he understands this. Is she saying that he went out to look for the black magic beast and unexpectedly came across that wild ginseng and ran all over the mountain to make friends with it all night long? He exclaims exactly. It's a moving wild ginseng, isn't it amazing? He looks perplexed as he admits he never thought she would put a wild ginseng before their deal. She smiles nervously as she states she has not forgotten the deal. It is just that she could not pass up the opportunity to grab such a rare and precious wild ginseng. She informs him she would like to know more about wild ginseng and wants to know if he happens to have information about it. He sighs and admits actually this is also his first time seeing a moving wild ginseng. He has not read any records about it either. Her eyes light up as she thinks if she's the first one to discover this species. He teases her that maybe she could try to become its friend first and then politely ask if it would be good for their health. It takes a moment for her to understand his joke. When she does, she tells him his beauty may be out of this world, but he is also so inhuman. He thanks her for the compliment. She muses. At first she was pretty nervous about meeting Shan, the veiled antagonist of the story, but the more she gets to him, the better she feels about him. He chastises her. Enough chit-chat and orders her to solve the problem here. She replies, "Yes, sir," and begins the task. After a while, once she finishes, she looks up and is surprised to find that he has been watching her the entire time. He states this question just crossed his mind. But what made her so obsessed about plants all of a sudden? As far as he knows, she did not care about plants at all before. He points out she became passionate about farming overnight and has made the image of the noble lady of House Driette, who cares so much about a bunch of dead seeds. He remarks, she is acting so out of character. She replies that it's because but trails off of thinking what should she say. She has no convincing reason to give him. She believes at a time like this, brazening it out is the best tactic. She beams at him, asking if there is any reason why she should not. One can grow to like something overnight, right? That can happen to anyone. He smirks, grows to like, huh? And adds, right, that can probably happen to her. She exclaims he understands her. Cannot he feel it? Her destiny to be a farmer. She springs from her seat, declaring she will become a farmer because farming is the best, while he tells her to sit down. Though she quickly obeys, he pokes her in the cheek, causing her to wonder what he's doing. When he pinches her cheek, she questions what is this for? He replies this is punishment for just running in the woods instead of looking for the black magic beast. She protests, but she found a wild ginseng. He counters a wild ginseng or a new friend. She wants to know if it would be possible to make friends with it. He teases her that it might be possible if she has the same level of intelligence as a plant, and he supposes it's probably possible for her. She becomes furious at the reply. He laughs and instructs her not to get too worked up. He then abruptly announces they won't have class next week as he has another appointment, and he has already informed the Duke of this. He declares he brought her tons of assignments, so they won't have any problems keeping up with progress as scheduled. Her mouth drops open and she thinks that is nothing but problems for her. He bids her farewell and leaves. Shan seems uneasy, constantly brooding over whether she will be killed or spared. He remembers when his nanny bore the brunt of his father's wrath. He stood there in horror before rushing to his father, begging for his nanny to be spared, promising to do anything. But his father ruthlessly killed her before his eyes anyway. He told him there are many people out there who would try to use their divine power, and that if he allowed them to take advantage of him, they would use him until he dies. His father seized his shoulders with bloodied fingers and told him that unless he kills, he would be killed, and told him to always remember this. His father, Dante Riepus, head of House Riepus, welcomes him back. He lets his father know he's ready so they can start now. His father suddenly leans in closer and whispers in his ear, "Will the gem of the Driet family be spared or killed?" He smirks and replies, "Of course she will be killed." Dante is pleased with his son's answer and asks him if he's ready. Sitchin's hands are bound, and there are bloodstains on his collar. Suddenly, an image of Erica flashes in his mind. He smiles and wonders why her face appears to him at this moment. Erica thinks although she has been pretty busy taking the classes and getting acquainted with the wild ginseng, her farming is going quite smoothly. Thanks to the mage's hard work, the magic tower is growing in size. She reveals Roll has also been watering his plants more diligently than she expected. However, when she arrives at the field, she finds all her tomato plants withered. Her eyes well up as she says her tomatoes. Her entire face is twisted with worry as she knocks on Royal's window, asking if he watered the tomatoes today. When there's no response, she begins pounding on it, yelling to know if he watered them or not. Reminding him all she asked was to water the field right in front of his room. She remarks his peaceful day inside was a hellish nightmare in the desert for the tomatoes. He flings open the window and tells her she's too nosy and to keep her voice down. With the use of his magic, he ends up pouring down the rain on the field. Her eyes flicker with hope as she asks if he did not water them on purpose, just to have an excuse to talk to her, right? He questions what nonsense she is saying. He tells her if she has nothing more to say he's leaving and turns to leave, but she grabs his sleeve, preventing his escape. She blurts out she has something to say. She notices he still seems to be cranky with her, but she now knows that this is his way of trying to be nice to her. He asks her what is it. She smiles at him and tells him he can do it. What he questions, but she just tells him to hang in there. She knows he has been cooped up in his room lately trying to invent a new magic device. She knows he must be very busy with the test preparation alone, and yet he is crapping out research at the same time, so she thinks he's really amazing. She lets him know. Her point is that he can feel free to tell her if he needs her help. He looks at her quietly before calling her name. She nods in encouragement, her eyes shining, but he only tells her he does not need her help. He only hopes she doesn't bother him. She pouts at him in response. She turns, saying, "Of course he does." There is a slight smile on his face. He then asks her how her class is. She replies it is fine, and lets him know she thinks her teacher is really smart. He frowns, saying, "Of course he is. He is Shan Riepus." Erica wonders what's with that dark look on his face all of a sudden. She asks him if something happened between him and his teacher. In response, he pats her on the head and tells her to remember that he should not easily trust just anyone. Later, Erica thinks about how the moment she mentioned Cheyenne, Roll's eyes became fierce. She wonders why, because she cannot think of any reason for him to react like that. Suddenly, she remembers he does. Roll and Shan are rivals in love who will compete for Pandora's heart in the future. She guesses that is probably why they are already at odds with each other. She cannot believe Roll's keeping an eye on his future rival. She looks down at these seeds anyways. She needs to hurry and find a solution for these rice seeds. She thinks since she cannot tell Shan where to find Dion, she should come up with another method. She sighed deeply. Betty, who is bringing her tea, comments that is a deep sigh and asks if she has any worries. Erica claims she is the person she needs right now and tells her to listen up. The first thing she tells her is her friend's story. We all know that, lol. However, Betty points out she has no friends. She protests that she does have friends. although she thinks to herself they are a beast bunny and a talking sword. Betty says alright then, let's just say that is the case, and tells her to keep going. Mad, she asks her, cannot she at least pretend to believe her? She then clears her throat and lets her know her friend has something she desperately wishes to have. But there's only one person in the world who can grant that wish. However, that person demands she should grant their wish first if she wants hers to come true. She further adds her friend wishes she could satisfy their demand, but unfortunately she cannot. Betty wants to know if that person has other wishes, but Erica lets her know they lack for nothing. Then Betty questions what is the relationship between them. Are they friends? She thinks about the relationship between her and Shan. She replies they are business acquaintances maybe. Betty claps suddenly and exclaims it is simple, earning a flinch from a perplexed-looking Erica. She suggests if they're not friends yet, they can become friends, and her friend can try to be friendly with them to the point where they cannot refuse her requests. She imagines her and Shan becoming friends. At first she thought it was complete nonsense. But then she realized Betty has a point. If they really become close, who knows, maybe he would be willing to give her the shirt off his back. She smiles when she considers that is it, and decides, from this moment on the building a friendship with Shan project begins. Her first step is to show friendliness with a soft smile. She believes no one spits on a smiling face. He calls out to her. She responds yes with a smile. He questions what's with that evil smile. She frowns and grumbles she was just trying to be friendly. He questions what did she say. He did not hear her properly. But she just murmurs never mind. She wonders if her first attempt failed. Maybe she was wrong to think that she could easily be friends with the secretive antagonist of the novel. She glances at him and then calls out for him. Once she has captured his attention, she asks if she rather looks different today. Her plan B is to look appealing with her fine muscles. For a moment, he just keeps staring at her. She thinks, yes, look at her biceps. Admire these rip muscles she got from working on the fields. However, he says her face seems to be telling him that she has got an urgent call from nature and she may go if she needs to use the restroom. Ashamed, she averts her gaze and blurts that is not what she meant. In her mind, she begs him to notice her flexing already. When she says please, he seems taken aback and says poop. He literally looks thoughtful and states it might take quite a while, so it is better they take a 15-minute break. She insists she is telling him it is not that, but then thinks better of him and tells him to just continue with their class. He calls out for her, placing some chocolates on the table. He questions would she like some chocolates. Since he needs to mark her paper, he suggests, why don't they continue after a short break? As she savors the chocolate, she reflects that she did her best to start the project off on the right foot, but she just doesn't know how to get close to him. She thinks her smile did not work, nor did her muscles appeal to him at all. However, she admits in the midst of all this dilemma, these chocolates taste amazing. She stares down at more chocolates and takes another one. This time it is a 5-story chocolate tower. He looks at her and bursts into laughter. Once he is able to speak, he questions, are those good? Erica's cheeks redden when she realizes that look feels a bit different than his usual smile. She suddenly leans in closer, causing him to be startled. He says if she's done eating, shall they get back to studying? But she replies, no, not that. She declares she saw dimples on his face when he laughed just now. She thinks he always has the typical antagonist smile on his face. She requests him to smile at her again. He replies he always keeps a smile on his face. However, she doesn't want this one. She wants the real, genuine smile he was wearing a second ago. His hand trembles when she remarks he has no idea how beautiful his dimples were and admits she would like to poke them with her fingers. Poke them, he questions. She pokes her own cheeks and says yes, like this. But he just laughs and says she would poke him. She is surprised by his reaction. He changes the topic and tells her he finished grading, and so would she like to check her score. He points out she got a 20 out of 100. She averts her gaze and grumbles he doesn't have to say it out aloud. She can see it. He points out she seems to be unable to focus on her studies lately. Is he correct? She replies she guesses so. Shan declares it seems to him that they might need to switch things up a little bit, so he is thinking of having an outdoor class next week. This gets her attention. She looks up, repeating an outdoor class. He wants to know if he does not like the idea, but she exclaims she does. She loves it. Erica deludes herself into thinking he just suggested going on a picnic together, right? Today is the day of the outdoor class with Shan. Erica shows Betty the beautiful dress she's wearing and asks how she looks. Betty exclaims she looks so beautiful and votes yes for the dress. However, he votes no. She asks him why he does not think this is pretty enough. Apparently, that is the problem. It's too pretty. He shows her a dress and suggests she should change into this one. This is the lesser of two evils. She tells him he seems to be misunderstanding something. She's not going to a funeral. Betty points an accusatory finger at the dress and tells him she's right. This is too drab for an outdoor class. She further adds, what would people think of House Dryader if her ladyship wore something like this outdoors? They start bickering. Erica tunes them out and sees her reflection in the mirror. She smiles at herself, hopeful she will be able to get close to him this time. In the garden, she sits there absent-minded while he continues to talk about the early ancestors of the Draco imperial family who are said to have been blood relatives of the Red Dragon. And that is why the red color of their hair and eyes became the symbol of the imperial family. He further adds this tomb was also modeled after the Red Dragon. She curses the subject. This is no different from a boring school trip in her previous life. She ponders. She knew it. She got her hopes up for nothing. How pathetic. She lets herself think maybe building a friendship between them was impossible in the first place, reminding herself he is a cryptic antagonist after all, and it would be weirder if they became friends. She looks exhausted and feels mentally overloaded. She is also starting to feel drowsy. She could not get enough sleep because she was fussing around and dolling up since early in the morning. She tries to keep her eyes open because she cannot fall asleep. Someone is calling out to her. She finds it noisy, and that noise also makes her crave mandu. She finally blinks open her eyes, only to find Shan kneeling in front of her. He teases, did she have a good nap? Erica claims it was not napping. He remarks how shameless she is. He pokes her in the forehead, saying she had a restful sleep during his lecture. Was she so tired? She mumbles an apology, explaining she woke up earlier than usual this morning so she could not get enough sleep. He inquires why was that. She admits she was so excited about this outdoor class that she got up very early to get dolled up. He wants to know, for goodness sake, why would an outdoor class get her so excited? Suddenly the distance between them seems less, as she admits, because it was the first time they were hanging outside. His eyes widen and he mumbles, is that a reason? He looks away, commenting on her excitement, but then abruptly stops as his gaze lands on the wound on her heel. She guesses the new show must have scraped the skin off her heels. She assures him not to worry, claiming she is a Dryet so it will heal in a day, but he reminds her if he treats it, it won't even take a day. She knows, but, she points out, did not he say the other day that using his power requires a price? Knowing that in exchange for using this ability, something bad will happen to him, how can she let him use that? She states she only asked him to use his ability on the seeds because farming rice is her dream. A dream she would give her life up for. And that is why she asked him the favor, because he's the only one who can revive the seeds. Once again she gives him her word that if he revives the rice for her, she will return the favor by any means necessary. He wants to know how she's going to return his favor. He already made it clear that he wants to find the black magic beast in exchange. She says anything except for that. Suddenly his eyes are hard as he questions what she thinks she can do for him when she cannot even do that one favor. She can't help but think, is there no hope for her then? She blurts out she will protect him when he is in danger. He seems genuinely taken aback. So she claims she can really protect him and tells him to look at her muscles. She tells him she's more useful than he might think. She has tremendous strength, powerful connections, a lot of money, and great farming skills. She cups her face with both of her hands and says not only that, she's pretty too, isn't she? She believes she has successfully appealed to him this time. However, he replies he doesn't know about that. She seems very offended. She says, "Excuse me, isn't she pretty? Like unbelievably beautiful, tremendously fabulous, unquestionably gorgeous." He puts a halt to her speech and inspects her wound. He heals it for her, and in case she gets hurt in the future, he wants her to let him know right away. She shouldn't hide it from him. When she tries to object, he tells her to answer her, and she ends up saying yes. He also instructs her not to wear uncomfortable shoes like this again. Once again, when she tries to object, he asks for her answer, and she ends up giving her word again. This earns her a genuine smile from his face, and he suggests how about they wrap up today's class here and go for some mandu dinner. She starts drooling at that. She wants to know how he knew she loves mandu. He says it is written on her forehead. She realizes there's something on her forehead. She also believes since he is the one who suggested going to eat something together, that's definitely a positive sign that they can be friends.
She looks at the food and finds everything really delicious, opening her mouth wide as she takes a bite. She remembers that the maid told her that she should sit up straight and eat elegantly. She takes a glance at Shan. She thinks it is right, and she should keep an elegant demeanor when she eats. And she should not eat too much either. He steps up and tells her that he needs to go to the washroom. She thinks it is great and tells him that he can take her mind. She eats the food all at once. She finds it so good and glances at his. She does herself. No, she's a noble lady. She cannot steal someone else. Mandu. She asks the waiter if she could get another plate of meat mandu and kimchi mandu. He looks at her with nervousness as he tells her of course. He gives her a drink as she wonders what is this. He tells her this is tomato juice and it is on the house for her and her company. She nervously thanks him and drinks it. As Shan comes back, he calls out to her. She gasps as he questions if she ate all of these while he was gone. She tells him that she only had one blade. Then he asks her how does she explain the pile of empty plates he sees before his eyes. She tells him then maybe it was not one plate. He looks at the juice and asks her, "What is this juice?" She tells him that they said it is on the house. She did not order more food, she swears. He questions about it and smells the juice. He asks her if she drank up hers. She tells him yes she did, and mentions that it was very delicious. So she asked for some more, and they brought a whole barrel. So she just kind of gulped it all down. She wonders if there is a problem with the juice. A man steps towards her and slams on her table. He questions a rich lady and a loser. She steps up asking who is he. She wonders if these people have been eyeing since they came here. She clenches her fist, thinking whatever they are, no problem. They are not trained soldiers, so she can handle them. She steps in front of him. Shan asks her what is she doing. She tells him that she told him she will protect him. She tells the man that she will not let them touch even one hair on her teacher's head. The man is hesitant as he asks her if she is sure that she drank the juice that he gave her, questioning if she does not feel dizzy or sleepy. She is totally fine as she tells him not at all and questions why. He questions how that could be the case as he poured an anesthetic into the juice strong enough to put a bear to sleep. An ordinary person would have coughed up blood and died already after drinking just one glass. Shan stares at her before he covers her eyes and uses his magic. She tells him that she cannot see anything. He turns her towards him and calls out to her. He questions if she would please protect him. He tells her that they need to escape, but he does not think that they will stop chasing them until they lose track of her. She questions her as he presses his hands on her face. He tells her because the person that they are targeting is her. She questions why would they as she turns to look at one of them coming to attack her. He uses his magic again and pushes him away. He questions why would not they? He tells her that she has tremendous strength, powerful connections, a lot of money, and a great farming skills. He tells her that he does not think her farming skills are what they are after. She questions then, what was he going to say? He brings her outside and tells her that she has an unquenchable voracious appetite. She seems annoyed, thinking what does that have to do with this situation? The maid appears questioning. For goodness sake, what in the world? She questions if Betty is here to take her home. Betty calls out to her and asks her if that is blood on her clothes. She looks at it and realizes that some blood splattered on her when Shan was fighting. She tells Betty that she should not worry as it is no big deal. Betty takes her hand, asking her to come over here. She covers her as she stands in front of her, facing Shan. Asking to protect the gem of the Dryads as all the knights target Shan. Shan mentions that it's all his fault. Erica's father responds that he knows that. Erica tells her father that he does not know anything. She tells him that all Shan did was protect her. Her father tells her that the tomato juice she drank was poisoned. Yet she drank a whole barrel of it. He seems angry at her. He tells her if she were not a Dryad, she would have been dead already. She does her, but she is fine. Is not she asking him to see that she's not her at all? He asks her still, was not she put in a situation where blood was splattered on her clothes? He mentions that he shall definitely hold Repus accountable for what happened today. He questions an outdoor class. He has never agreed to such a thing in the first place. Why is this? This is serious, and that he is angrier than she thought. She knows that, if anything, Shan protected her, and he planned an outdoor class to help her focus on her studies. Look at him and clenches her fist. She whispers to him that he should trust her and she can handle this. He seems confused by that. She yells to her father, causing him to flinch. She tells him because her teacher took her out for an outdoor class today, something terrific happened. She tells him that she has become the master of the Holy Sword. He questions. So what she's saying is that in order to save her from the poison, the Holy Sword awakened. She nods. He tells her what utter nonsense is she saying. She tells him that she is correct, and perhaps, because what caused it to awaken was tomato choose its form changed. Shows him the sword as he tells her there is no way this is the Holy Sword. She tells him she could not believe that the Holy Sword became a hoe either. But it is true, and she heard the transformation Holy Sword's enraged voice. The sword questioned, how dare he insult tomatoes, one of the great produce of the fields? She shall make all of them regret it. Erica tells her father that their Holy Sword was actually a lover of agriculture all along. The sword asks her when did she say that. Erica mentions that is why it could not just forgive those who tainted tomato juice with poison. The Holy Sword did not say that as it looks at Erica. She tells him therefore it decided to shed its old form and be reborn. Because it loves the fruits of the earth, because it wants to protect them. Hence, the newly born Holy Sword is now a holy hoe. The sword's strong love for crops and its tenacity and will to protect them made it turn into a holy hoe. The sword thinks that even fools would not believe such gibberish. Her father is shocked as he questions if the Holy Sword loved farming that much. The sword cannot believe that he believed it. He mentions that now he gets it. There was a reason for her sudden interest in farming. He mentions now that he knows the truth. She is right. It does not look like an ordinary hoe, she asks him. Right, he tells her that he is so proud of her. He cannot believe that she has become the master of the Holy Sword. Before correcting it to Holy Ho, she ponders. Thank goodness he's a simple man. Her father calls out to Shan, telling him that regardless of how it happened, House Street has seen a new master of the Holy Sword for the first time in 1,000 years thanks to him. Her father decides to let him pass this time, but asks him to please ensure her safety from now on. He tells him that he shall not disappoint him again. Erica is aware that he was scolded because of her. Her father calls out to Erica and tells her that he thinks the time has come for them to fully start her training as the heir of House Dryad. He tells her that now that she is the master of the Holy Sword, she should learn swordsmanship. Therefore, he thinks they should suspend her regular classes for a while, and he hopes that she understands. Shan mentions that he is right. Her training schedule should take priority. She is dumbfounded as she wonders what about her opinion. He tells her that he shall send a messenger to reschedule her classes. She realizes that she got herself into a big mess. Who would have thought that she would be put through swordsmanship training? As it is the night time, she and Shan are walking together. She calls out to him and apologizes to him. He asks her about what she tells him that he was rebuked even after he protected her. He tells her that it was his fault because it happened while he was away. She tells him that everything was okay though. She mentions it is an undeniable fact that he saved her and the blood got on her clothes while he was trying to protect her. He does not say anything as she apologizes to him. He stares at her before he takes off his jacket and covers her with it. She questions him as he mentions it is cold, so she should wear this. He tells her she cannot see it now. She questions what she realizes he is talking about the blood stain. She tells him that he did not have to as she will change when she returns to her room, so it does not matter. He calls out to her as she flinches. He clenches before he questions. Why are there so many things that do not matter to her? She wonders if he's angry. But she has no idea. Why would he be angry? He suddenly grabs her shoulder and holds her tighter. He tells her that he did not mean to get the blood on her dress. She becomes shocked before they're interrupted by someone. He is informed that they are here to take him home. She tells him that she has heard that the training for the Hair of Haustriet is quite rigorous. She asks him to please take care and tells him that she will give her all. He tells her then he will see her in 2 weeks. He steps away. Before he halts for a second, he turns around and tells her there is one more thing. He mentions that she looked pretty today. She blushes as he steps away. She wonders if he just called her pretty. The morning begins as her father mentions that he understands how surprised all of them are that he abruptly called a meeting. He mentions that he will cut to the chase. He tells everyone that Erica has become the master of Garshan, the holy sword. They do not understand and mentions, but she is too delicate and weak. Questioning if that is true. Is not it too dangerous? He mentions that there is no doubt that the Empire family won't leave her alone now, and that he remembers what happened to the former master of the holy sword. Her mother mentions they will never let that happen to Erica. They will protect her by all means. Her father knows that Felix is right. The Imperial family will undoubtedly be after Erica. Historically, the Draco Imperial family had always been fair and just, until an unprecedented tyrant appeared, some 1,000 years ago. After that, the Imperial family changed. The Emperor beheaded every single person we saw as a threat to his power, and among the victims was also the former master of the Holy World who awakened Garshan 1,000 years ago. The Emperor got rid of them because he felt threatened by the sword's power, which is why they have been trying to keep Erica away from anything related to the Imperial family. But she was chosen by the Holy Sword after all. Her mother mentions that Erica will have to undergo the most intensive Druid training program if she is to protect herself. Her father tells everyone to listen. As of now, they commence House Druid's real combat training, place at the farming. She thinks that she cannot believe she has to waste her time on swordsmanship training. Well, she should become Shan's close friend quickly to revive her rice seeds. Last night was the perfect timing. She still remembers that she was told by him that she looked pretty today. She knows she should have struck while the iron was hot. Anyway, she thinks, when will they let her know the training schedule? She needs to know what kind of training it is to gear herself up. Right then something happens, causing her to be shocked. She wonders what is in the world going on before she sees a rose. Someone tells her that she managed to avoid his attack. She asks him who is he. It is a man, as he tells her. He will tell her who he is, mentioning that he is the Red Desert Scorpion. Before she asks him to be careful, telling him where he is trampling her crops. He apologizes to her, calling her her lady. She thinks about how he called her her lady and asks him if he is Felix. He questions what is she talking about. He tells her that he is the legendary Red Scorpion. She wonders what is he playing at. He tells her that she might have been lucky a moment ago, but she won't be able to dodge this one, and attacks her. She is totally shocked as she wonders what the heck is going on. She wonders what the fish is going on, as all there are a lot of scorpions falling from the sky. It hurts her as she questions what is going on. She looks at one, questioning if this is a red-banded lobster. She is told that is a desert scorpion. He tells him it looks delicious and asks him if it is edible. He tells her no, she cannot eat it. If she is hungry, she will run to the kitchen right away and get something for her to eat. He realizes he ended up saying too much. He then yells at her, questioning how dare she bamboozle him with nonsense. He wonders what do he do? She picks one up. She asks him do not tell her if this is how House Druid trains its hair. She's aware that Felix is not the only one in plan since around. She can sense the presence of other hiding here and there. She takes out the sword. She calls out to the Desert King Crab. He tells her he said he is a scorpion. She tells him whether he is a scorpion or a lobster. She does not care, causing him to flinch. She mentions that he took up minutes from her precious farming time. She asks him to hold still, and they should get it over with real quick. She has to feel the hoe. He asks her what before he screams. After some time, she's on her bed. She realizes that she's dead tired. It is because of those undercover guys. It even took a while to return to her room. She wonders how can they call this tournament training. She thinks she should just nap for 10 minutes and then think about something before she gasps. Someone jumps as mentions that she caught her. She tells Erica to not be scared as she has not done anything yet. Erica calls her Betty as she apologizes and tells Erica she's not Betty, her loyal maid. Mr. Black Cat. Erica thinks sure she is knowing the truth. She mentions Black Cat. The Jewel in the Dark is her full name. Erica takes the sword, questioning if she will please stop, and attacks her with it. She mentions this is too abrupt and dodges it. Betty mentions that was fun and asks how about this. She attacks Erica with Black Rose Thorn Shuriken. Erica becomes really angry, mentioning, Rose her food. She tells her if she is a rose. Then she's a weeder and attacks her. After a boom, Betty is on the ground. Erica thinks maybe she went a bit overboard as her room is a whole mess. She is aware that if they continue to come at her like this, nothing will be left of the mansion before long, not to mention her field. She notices something is floating. She realizes that her room is going back to its original state. She is aware that the only person that she knows who can cast a spell like this is Roll. She cannot believe that he is with the weirdos in tights. She finds him an evil brother. Right then he steps in and asks her who is evil. She tells him it is unbelievable. She points at him to wait, telling him to not come any closer. He seems confused as she mentions that she knows everything. She tells them that he is one of them. Is not he? She's so impressed by his restoration magic. She also tells them that she knows he intends to attack her after she lets her guard down. She tells him she is no fool. He remains quiet. She questions, so what is his nickname? The White Dragon of the Magic Tower. He asks what is that? He tells her whatever happened to her has nothing to do with him. She questions if that is true and asks him then why is he here. She is sure he cannot help her out either because Dad must have told him not to. He tells her yes, she is right. He did tell him to not do that, and actually he's not even supposed to come here. But he was so worried that she might be crying. He pats her on the head. She asks him if he came to tease her because he thought she would be crying. He turns around and tells her that she seems fine, so he is leaving. She asks him to not go. She tells him that she is really having a tough time. He looks at her and tells her that he is so swamped with work at the Magic Tower that he cannot stay for long. She then asks them to just tell her one thing. She questions where are Mom and Dad, as she has not seen them anywhere. He said he does not know their exact whereabouts, but they said they wanted to spend some time together, just the two of them. She's aware that she's sure they ran off. She thinks that they ran away because they were afraid they would soften up at the sight of me. She knows having shrewd parents is not always good. He tells her that he has got to go now. She goes to him, questioning if he's really leaving. He asks her what would he stay for when he cannot even tease her. She asked him to stop. She questions if he will come back really soon. He tells her of course, so don't even think. Ask me for help somewhere else. From Shan, for example. She pouts. She thinks he continues to keep Shan at bay, thinking if it is because they are future love rivals. She asks him what about him. She questions if he is saying this because she got the tomato juice on her clothes the other night. She tells him that everyone around her worries too much about nothing. He calls out to her as she questions what is the matter. Why is he so serious all of a sudden? He clenches his face before he asks her to be careful. He tells her to never forget that House Driet sides with the Imperial family. She tells him all right. He pats her, mentioning she's a good girl. She finds it strange. She thinks that she simply thought he reacted sharply because he and Shan were love rivals in the novel. She wonders if there is any other reason for his behavior. A week later, Betty steps in her room, finding it really strange. She thinks that Erica should have already sensed her presence and attacked her wielding her hoe. She finds it suspiciously quiet. Right then she's alarmed and things. No way, she does not find Erica on the bed. There is a letter which states that she's leaving because she can no longer stand this annoying training, so they should not make any attempt to find her. As her father checks the letter, she also asks him if he could please look after her farm. He trembles before he yells to go and find her right now, somewhere else. She steps in a restaurant and asks for 1 chicken soup and 1 sandwich. She sits on a table as her sword calls out to her. The sword asks her, is not she too laid back for a runaway? She asks Garshin to be quiet, questioning if it has not heard the saying of former marches on its stomach. She has traveled all the way to the middle of nowhere just in case. Does not she deserve a short break and some good food? She knows this place feels a bit grim though. She looks around and gulps. She thinks that she should eat fast and leave. She hears someone questioning, does such an amazing seed really exist? She turns to look at whoever is talking about it. Garshin asks her if she's not going to get sidetracked. She asks Garshin to be quiet as she cannot hear anything because of it. The person mentions that he heard the seed has special abilities and it shines too. It not only has a healing power, but it is also strong enough to harm magic beasts. The other person mentions that is a great news. The magic beast attacks are more frequent than ever, and he would feel much safer if he could get his hands on the sea. She wonders if it can heal wounds and has the power to repel magic beasts. She wonders if it could be something like sweet potatoes that are delicious to humans but harmful to magic beast. Her imagination is running wild. A sweet potato that is poison to magic yet medicine to human. She thinks it really is an amazing seed and she wants it. She really wants the anti-magic beast sweet potato. Gaussian mentions that she has lost her mind. She jolts as Hat Person states what the problem is, that one cannot buy them. He questions if this means that the seed just belonged to the arena. They mention yes, it is simply a seed for watching. The person questions, then it must have an owner, right? Should not they at least attempt to negotiate? He thinks he should go over to the arena. She wonders if there is an arena running a farm as she wears her hoodie. She follows the guys and takes a peek. Gaussian asks her if she is following them to the arena, questioning if she's serious. He tells her that she does not even know what kind of seed it is, and those guys sounded pretty suspicious. She tells him that a seed is a seed, and a good farmer needs to be able to cultivate any seed. Besides, she thinks that if her guess is right, then it must be a sweet potato seed. Gaussian thinks that was unexpected. He tells her that they heard the same conversation, so why did sweet potato never cross his mind? She tells him that just goes to show how lacking he is as a farmer. She asks him if he will be quiet already. She is going to get caught because of him. She is then approached by a man as she gasps, the three of them. He looks at her, questioning if she's following them. He points the sword at her, questioning the reason of it. They asked her what does she want. She thinks it looks like the arena is just around the corner, so she cannot fall back here. The man asks Sarah. She's a member of Magioli. He notices a sound and asks her what is this sound. She tells him it sounds like horse hooves galloping very fast toward here. She then becomes alarmed as someone yells her name. It is her father as she calls out to him. He tells her that he has been looking all over for her. The man asked him who is he. He responds that he is this girl's father. He becomes angry at them, questioning how dare he lay a hand on his daughter and attacks them, telling them to die. The man ran away, stating that they did not do anything yet. He still asks them to be quiet, and she thinks that she thought she came far enough. So how in the world did he find her? She knows now is not the time for this and that she should run away while he is not looking. He turns to realize that she is no longer there. She's running away as he yells at her to more go somewhere else. She steps towards somewhere. A man blocks her view. He tells her she cannot just walk in, she should show her past first. She glances at him, questioning past. She shows him something and asks him if this will do. He realizes that he's a diamond. He tells her of course, and that she can enter. She thinks that was easy peasy. She steps in the arena. A lot of people stand there. They yell that those people cannot win fighting like that. And that they paid the price of a mansion on them. She wonders if this is really where they form. Gaussian tells her that he told her they seem suspicious. He does her. If these people were proud of what they do, why would they be wearing masks? She is aware this is not just an ordinary sports arena. It is a gambling den where people bet money on duels, and then the seed those guys mentioned. Then it is announced that they have waited for a long time, and asks to welcome the top seed, which is Bellflower. Erica is confused as she wonders if she is dead. She begins to step towards her. She wonders what is she doing here, and if she is Pandora Valentine. She fights with the person. People mention that Seed is as impressive as the rumors say. She won't budge at all against such a big man. Maybe it is true that she can knock down magic beasts. Erica thanks. And then the seed that repels magic beast. Before looking at her, it turns out that the victory goes to the top seed, Bellflower. In the novel, there's a brief mention of how Count Valentine abused Pandora. But still she wonders how can he send out such a young girl to fight for money? She thinks he's such a wicked man. Gaussian tells her they should go home now. As have not they already found out that it was not a sweet potato seed. She feels sorry for her birthday is nothing she can do to help her now. After all, Pandora is the female lead of the novel and she is only a farmer. She decides to go home. But before that, the man that Pandora was fighting trembles and yells at her that he will kill her. He runs to attack her. He grabs Pandora and begins to choke her. People ask him to kill her too. She wonders if these people are all out of their minds. She knows that Pandora is only a 15-year-old girl, and if nobody helps her, but then it will be a problem. She begins to shake. She asks the raccoon to go there and that she's counting on her. The raccoon steps in as people question, what is a magic beast doing here? The person trembles and asks it to not come close. Everyone becomes scared, stating it is a magic piece and they should all run away. Pandora seems pretty sad before Erica goes to her asking her if she is all right. Pandora questions who is she. Erica responds that she is a farmer. She's a legendary farmer and asks Pandora to speak. She asked Pandora to listen up, telling her that she has to run away from that house. She cannot live like this forever. She should just leave home and just farm and do not fall in love with someone weird. Erica gives her something and tells her she should eat this and cheer up, and if possible, she should run away right now. People yell at Erica, stating that women took the beast inside and they should catch her. She wishes goodbye to Pandora. Pandora asks her to wait, but she runs away. She realized that there's no place like home, so after saving Pandora, she decided to return home. As she is back home, she asks Father to please don't do that. She asks him to please put down that tomato first. He asks her that she should promise him first that she will never run away from home again, and she will take the training seriously. She questions how can he call that training. It was a torture. Besides, she asks him, what the heck were those tight costumes? Only perverts would wear that. She does seem that she wants her training to focus more on improving more on she's talented at. He asked her what is she talented at. She tells him she will just show him right now. She takes him to her farm. It is the final chapter of the farmer's martial technique. Harvesting. She begins to harvest. Her father is shocked. Her mother mentions that she knew she was warming, but she never thought she would learn such an impressive skill. She questions are not the farmer's martial techniques amazing? Her mother tells her father that they should give her a chance and let her train in her way. Her father states, but they must follow their tradition, and that is to reach full potential through real-life training. Do not allow any exceptions. But to be honest, that was very impressive. She has improved her skills this much all by herself, so he's really proud of her. He tells her that he's sorry he failed to give her the right training for her, and he also apologizes for threatening her using her tomato. She tells him she is really sorry to worrying him when running away. He asks her, do not do that again, as they promised that they will discuss things with her in the future. Calling her opinion, they will invest their assets to purchase more farms, and every member of House Driet will participate in developing the farmer's martial techniques with her. From now on, farming will be House Driet's biggest investment. This was a historic moment when House Driet of the Sword paved the way to eventually become House Driet of the Whole.